Comment about a story posted by the Tennessee Star, which appears to have published some of the alleged writings from the school shooter, Audrey Hale. The judge will determine if the Star violated court orders, which could lead to punishment at the judge's discretion. The Star claims it has obtained 80 pages of Hale's writings. And finally, the City Council of Hendersonville wants to make groceries cheaper for its residents. Back in 2023, the city passed an ordinance raising the tax rate in Hendersonville from 2.25% to 2.75% over the next 10 years. Now they're talking about keeping grocery taxes out of that increase. Today is scheduled to be the first reading on the ordinance to decrease the local option sales rate on groceries from 2.75% to 2.25%. That is the latest news, traffic, and weather. They're on the way. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's 7 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, and you are listening to The Drive on a beautiful, just a gorgeous day. It is Tuesday, June 11th, and we'll be bringing you news and information over the course of the next 4 hours. I think we've got a lot of stuff that you're going to be very interested in. We'll start, of course, with the big news today out of Delaware. Hunter Biden has been found guilty on all charges in his criminal gun trial. From CNBC. Here's just one version I have. Let's go with the Wall Street Journal. Jurors find the president's son guilty of lying about drug use during a 2018 handgun purchase. The younger Biden, 54 years old, was convicted of 3 felony counts by a federal jury, which deliberated for about 3 hours over 2 days in a case that exposed a dark period of substance abuse in the Biden family. He is the first child of a sitting president to be convicted of criminal charges. Now, what did the jury find? They found that when Hunter bought a .38 caliber Colt Cobra revolver in October of 2018, he lied on a federal form by checking a box to say he wasn't addicted or using drugs at the time. During a week of trial proceedings, jurors heard about his years-long struggle to stay sober, including evidence that he bought and used drugs in the weeks before and the days after he purchased the firearm from a gun shop in his home of Wilmington. Hunter Biden sat stone-faced as the verdict was released. As he departed the courtroom, he smiled, embraced his lawyer, Abby Lowell, and other members of the defense team, and hugged his wife, Melissa Cohen Biden. I'm more grateful today for the love and support I experienced this last week from Melissa, my family, my friends, my community, than I am disappointed in the outcome. Lowell, a pretty good attorney, but he was in a really pretty much unwinnable case, had argued that his client believed at the time he purchased the drugs that he was in recovery and not addicted to or actively using drugs. But as has been pointed out by anybody who listened to the testimony in this particular case, that argument, the defense that was put up by Abby Lowell, was just demolished, just destroyed by the prosecution team over the course of them laying out the case. The younger Biden faces up to 25 years behind bars, though any prison term is likely to amount to a fraction of that maximum sentence. The judge said that the sentencing dates are typically scheduled 4 months after a conviction. The conviction and prospect of prison time deepens the political peril for his father, of course, during the middle of November's election cycle. At the White House today, in fact, we got a statement. I'll get into some of that in just a moment from the president. We had a statement, from other family members. The bottom line is that the president has just canceled everything on his agenda and is making an unscheduled run back to Delaware to be with his son this evening. He had one event that he couldn't get out of, and he spoke, and it's actually made a little bit of news today. We'll share that in a moment. But he's getting on the plane, and he's going to Delaware, and they even canceled the White House briefing. I'm sure that Karine Jean-Pierre was happy about that, because I don't imagine she really wanted to be answering questions today behind the podium. After the guilty verdict came down, we have a couple of interesting things that happened. David Weiss, the special prosecutor, came to the cameras and made a statement, did not take questions, but made a statement.
Earlier today, Hunter Biden was convicted of 2 counts of lying on a form submitted to a federal firearms dealer about his addiction or use of crack cocaine and possessing a firearm while a user or addict. There have been 2 overarching themes emphasized by the prosecution during trial: this defendant's illegal choices and the rule of law. First, while there has been much testimony about the defendant's abuse of drugs and alcohol, ultimately this case was not just about addiction, a disease that haunts families across the United States, including Hunter Biden's family. This case was about the illegal choices defendant made while in the throes of addiction, his choice to lie on a government form when he bought a gun, and the choice to then possess that gun. It was these choices and the combination of guns and drugs that made his conduct dangerous. Second, no one in this country is above the law. Everyone must be accountable for their actions, even this defendant. However, Hunter Biden should be no more accountable than any other citizen convicted of this same conduct. The prosecution has been and will continue to be committed to this principle and to the principles of federal prosecution in carrying out its responsibilities. I want to thank the jury for their service. There are few civic responsibilities more important than jury service. 15 Delawareans came to court each day and performed their responsibilities in a professional and conscientious manner. We thank them. I want to thank Derek Hines, Leo Wise, and the entire special counsel team. I am so proud of this group of attorneys, agents, and litigation professionals. This is a difficult assignment. These folks have been working 7 days a week for the last couple months, litigating a variety of issues in district and appellate courts on two coasts. They have given their heart and soul to this work. They represent the best that public service has to offer. I am incredibly grateful. Finally, I want to thank Attorney General Garland for providing the support necessary to fulfill our mission, ensuring that we have the independence to appropriately pursue our investigations and prosecutions. As you know, we have additional trials and investigative work to be done. So I will not entertain questions at this time. Our work continues. Thank you for your consideration.
Well, and he left the room after that. Now, he didn't take any questions, but as it turned out, juror number 10, somebody who actually was part of the decision in that courtroom, as is allowed, there's nothing wrong with it. You can choose to speak to the reporters if you want to. No obligation to do it, but certainly it's okay if you want to. And so a bunch of reporters caught up with juror number 10, I think, in the parking lot and asked him a few questions about, how things had gone, what happened inside that jury deliberation room.
Nobody's above the law, no matter who you are. So that did not play a factor in my decision. It was not politically motivated, if you want to know that. Politics played no part in this whatsoever. We just went by the evidence. Were you cognizant of the family members who were there and the First Lady being there? Was that something that the jury talked about or noticed? Once we went into the jury room, we didn't discuss anything. We didn't discuss the family. We didn't discuss any part of the case until it was actually given to us. And it was given to us yesterday afternoon. That's when we were able to talk to one another.
And basically, in some of the other stuff, which is a bit more difficult to hear, he said that juror number 10 said, well, we didn't really buy his story about the 7-Eleven, because Abby Lowell said maybe he went there for a cup of coffee. Maybe he went there, to get a donut. Well, they didn't buy that story. It didn't seem plausible to them, and they chose to convict on all counts. Now, Hunter Biden has the right to appeal, and we won't find out for probably some time what his punishment would be here, but he's got other legal woes that are confronting him, as was pointed out by Jonathan Turley, noted legal analyst and a constitutional law expert.
His counsel has got to refocus on that tax case. They're going into that case now with a convicted felon. Now, these are very different types of claims.
Right.
But there's a third front developing. Congress just referred what I consider to be a very strong case for a perjury investigation of Hunter Biden after his testimony before Congress. Now, the expectation is that Garland is going to basically scuttle that referral. But the problem is that the House seems to have Hunter Biden dead for rights on that on those perjury claims. It's hard to see how what he said before Congress were true. That's a much more serious offense, and it's currently sitting on the desk of Merrick Garland.
Yeah, what will Merrick Garland do with that one? I mean, what you know what I think he will do? I think I know what he'll do. Yeah, well, anyway, Merrick Garland has that particular decision looming before him. Hunter Biden said he was disappointed by the guilty verdict, and a jury in Delaware found Hunter Biden guilty, and a sentencing date, as they say, has not been scheduled. The Trump campaign on Tuesday called the guilty verdict in the Hunter Biden trial a distraction from what it said are the real crimes of the Biden family. This trial has been nothing more than a distraction from the real crimes of the Biden crime family, which has raked in tens of millions of dollars from China, Russia, and Ukraine. Trump campaign National Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said in a statement, "Crooked Joe Biden's reign over the Biden family criminal empire is all but coming to an end on November 5th, and never again will a Biden sell government access for personal profit." So there you have it. A lot of reaction to the things that have happened here today. And as I mentioned, the President of the United States has made sort of a surprise trip. I don't think they expected this verdict to come down quite as quickly as it did. In fact, the First Lady, who had been in court every day and was in Delaware, could not make it to the court before the jury rendered its verdict. I mean, it happened that quick. They over 2 days, about 3 hours. About an hour and change yesterday and a couple of hours today, and then they returned the verdict. And when a verdict comes back in that quick, it generally is a guilty verdict. If it's a not guilty, they generally tend, on average, to take a little longer. So it happened quick. Hunter Biden, as soon as he got to the courtroom, they brought the jury in and read the verdict. And it was a few minutes after all of that, after everybody had, you saw the interns running out of the building to get to the reporters down below on the street to give them the verdict and give them the details of what had been said in the courtroom. And it was a few minutes after that Jill Biden arrived. And then, as I mentioned, the President of the United States will go on an unscheduled trip back home after his son, Hunter Biden, was convicted on felony charges earlier in the day. This according to The Hill. The previously scheduled White House briefing was canceled. The president added his schedule to schedule a trip to his Delaware home a couple of hours after the verdict. They will leave for Joint Base Andrews after a gun safety event in Washington, which I'll talk about in a few moments. Biden is expected to arrive about now. He previously was scheduled to return to the White House and is scheduled to depart early Wednesday morning for Italy to attend the G7 summit for the week. Biden's speech at the Washington Hilton was at Everytown's Gun Sense University, where he is set to address gun violence prevention and efforts to curb gun purchases and use. And yes, he was pretty predictable about the things he said. And I'll get into that right after we take a commercial break. 20 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock. You know, many of you who've lived here for a long time, you know about Eurofix. You know they've been in Middle Tennessee, the place to go for European car repair now for some 24 years. And we've gotten to see them grow over the years. I don't know about you, but I love watching a hometown business take off. I mean, they are now very proud to talk about their newest location in Mount Juliet for Eurofix, on Mount Juliet Road, right across the street from the Dairy Queen. Eurofix can now serve you in Franklin, 100 Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and their newest location of lovely facility in Mount Juliet. It's pretty cool getting to watch a small-town mechanic, starting in a barn in the backyard of a single-wide trailer, grow to 5 locations, repairing thousands of cars each month. At Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair appointment. So give them a call. Here is the number, 844-EUROFIX. That's 844-EUROFIX, or visit myEurofix.com and tell them your friend and radio buddy, Brian Wilson, sent you.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
As has been reported all day, Hunter Biden, found guilty in his federal gun trial. We'll hear from the prosecutor in the case. Hamas has submitted its response to the latest ceasefire proposal. And another California company throwing in the towel in the Golden State and moving to Middle Tennessee. We'll have those stories at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's now past the hour of 3 o'clock. Brian Wilson in the chair on this Tuesday. I mean, I'm telling you, it is a gorgeous day. I got 79 degrees here. Just a little hair under 80, low humidity, just abundant sunshine. You couldn't ask for a nicer day. And I've been spending my day bird watching today because we have a nest of Carolina wrens in Grogu's garden. And I have a little, because I'm a geek. I mean, let's be honest with you, folks. You've known this about me. I'm not hiding anything. I have a bird camera that I put near the nest because it was the Carolina wrens. If you don't know, will apparently put their nests in very accessible places. Like we have a little raised garden bed that we grow herbs and stuff in, and no, not that kind of herb. This is stuff for cooking. And they built their nest in there, so it's very easy to get to. So I put the little camera down inside there, and all morning long I've been looking at the little baby birds as they get fed by the mama. It's been quite fun.
That's
and
cool.
Cabana wife, she spent the afternoon power washing. I mean, the woman, you give her a power washer and she's out of control. It's addictive, and she just can't stop.
I don't blame her. Every time I've gotten a hold of one, I'm trying to write stuff in the dirt on the driveway or something
It is such a fun, I tell you, it is addictive. Because, you instantly get the result you're looking for.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what's so much fun about it. Well, anyway, as I mentioned, after the verdict came down, Joe Biden, the president of the United States, decided he would make a quick trip back to Wilmington to be with his son and his family this evening. They just basically had one event on the schedule, and after that, they canceled everything else. There was no briefing at the White House today, which I'm sure Karine was happy about. And he went out to talk about, of all things, guns. Oh, yes, and it was very predictable. I mean, everything he said, you've heard him say before.
Everything from cracking down on ghost guns, gun trafficking, so much more. Folks, we're not stopping there. It's time, once again, to do what I did when I was a senator. Ban assault weapons. I mean it. Thank you. Who in God's name needs a magazine which can hold 200 shells? Nobody, that's right. I remember when I was campaigning, when I was a senator, going through the wetlands of Delaware to meet all the people who were most upset with me, the fishermen and the hunters. And I came across a guy who was fishing, and he said, "You want to take my gun?" And I looked at him, I said, "Yeah, I don't want to take your gun. You're allowed to have a gun, but I want to take away your ability to use an assault weapon." And I said, "Guess what? If you need 12 to 100 bullets in a gun and a magazine, you're the lousiest shot I've ever heard." I'm serious. And to his credit, he looked at me and said, "You have a good point." But think about it. They're weapons of war. And by the way, it's time we establish universal background checks.
I told you.
No family is responsible if they don't provide those locks.
And there you have it. I mean, everything that you have heard there, you have heard him say a dozen times before. And, for me to even dignify some of this stuff with analysis is sort of, he's talking about AR-15s here. And, I will, full disclosure, I am an owner of an AR-15. The only thing I have ever killed with an AR-15 are paper plates tacked onto a fence post for target practice. I think that's it. That's the extent of my my use of the AR-15. But it's not a weapon of war, as he says. So once again, I don't even. That he's just going to be that way. He's just going to go down that path. That's where they are. If I were him, I don't think this is going to help him a lot in America today. And a lot of the places where he needs help. Just between you and me, I don't know why you'd even want to go there, but he did. He did go there very distinctly. I want to mention that coming up after the news here in a few moments, I'm going to be getting into the Covenant story again, and I have a few things to get off my chest about some things that have happened in the last 24 hours since I was here with you. But that'll be after the news. Right now, it is 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7.
Good afternoon. It is 3:30. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got plenty of sunshine. Yes, as Brian says, low humidity, 79 degrees, a gorgeous day, and a nice forecast on the way. We'll get to that traffic report as well in just a few. Guilty on all charges, a federal jury in Delaware convicting President Biden's son Hunter on 3 felony counts related to his purchase of a firearm back in 2018 while he was allegedly addicted to drugs. The case was brought to trial by special counsel David Weiss. He was appointed by Attorney General Merrick Garland after a failed plea deal. Weiss, after the verdict, says the choices of Biden while battling addiction led to today's verdict.
There have been 2 overarching themes emphasized by the prosecution during trial: this defendant's illegal choices and the rule of law.
Hamas has submitted its response to the latest ceasefire proposal, one put forth by the U.S. and overwhelmingly endorsed by the UN Security Council. A U.S. official familiar with the negotiations describes Hamas' response as not only an outright yes or no, but a counter with questions about provisions included in the proposal and some additional demands. Here's ABT's Tom Sufi-Burridge. He's in Tel Aviv, and he has more.
The Israeli government and Hamas still have competing interests in the type of deal they want to accept. Hamas, we know, wants a deal which at least gives a clear pathway towards a definitive end to the war. The Israeli government is only willing to accept that type of deal if it first can, quote, achieve its objectives.
Back in Middle Tennessee, in the wake of yesterday's announcement of a Mount Juliet parts manufacturer shutting down and thus many people losing their jobs, a hermetic laser sealing and packaging fabrication company called Lays Star Incorporated, they're moving from California here to Middle Tennessee. The welding company will be investing over $5 million in order to make the move to Fairview, Tennessee. The opening will bring approximately 25 new jobs to the area. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather, they are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Let me tell you a little bit about the folks over at Busy Bee HVAC and Plumbing. I mean, that's the place you go if you got problems with your plumbing or your air conditioning or your heating in the wintertime. They have some special June promotions to talk about. Well, first of all, You can enter to win a free round of golf for Dad at Hermitage Golf Course. You must sign up now to be a member of the Beehive Club. Starts at only $99 a year. And if you need AC unit maintenance, you might as well just go ahead and sign up now. Then you'll get in 3 different sessions with them. Well, they'll look at cooling, they'll look at heating, and they'll look at plumbing. Find those problems before they come big problems. Deadline to enter for that golf round is June 15th, just 4 days from now. Winner will be announced on the 17th. Now, they have some other big deals going on here. Free air duct fogging and UV light home treatment with the purchase of select new units. $500 off select tankless water heaters. $500 off upright Essence water heaters. 15% off a whole home drain repipe. Repair your AC service. Listen, they'll waive the $89 fee, and with repair work, you'll get 10% off all indoor air quality products. Repair plumbing service. They got all kinds of stuff. $99 drain video inspection. $79 for a water heater flush. So listen, why don't you reach out to the good folks at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, your official Rude Pro partner. For satisfaction guaranteed, call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, 615-775-7833, online at busybhvac.com. It's 38 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, and you're listening to The Drive on this June 11th. Good. As you know, over the past few days, I don't know, starting about last Wednesday, I've been reporting a lot on the Covenant shooting, and that's because I've come into possession of some documents from the police investigation, and have looked into that, and I've found many stories there, and I have reported them, and I've been upfront with you. This came to me, and is it a leak? Yes, it's a leak, and I got the information. It is very clear the moment you look at the documents that I have that they are absolutely authentic. And then to make it even more authentic, I have a 2 hour and 13 minute recording of the document. It was an interview that was done with the shooter's parents about 4 months after the shooting. And so, not only do I have the transcript, I have audio of it, which I have played on the air here on Super Talk 99.7 during my program. All right, so, the information is there, and it's been out there. And, I don't have all of the documents, but the folks over at the Tennessee Star have said that they're in the possession of about 80 pages from the so-called diaries written by the shooter. It is my summation. I don't know, but it's my summation that's probably the documents that were in the car the day of the shooting, found in the car. About 20 journals all told exist. 2 of them were in the car, and police found them the day of the shooting. So that's what we have been reporting. They've been reporting a lot more stuff than I do because I don't have near the level of documents that the Tennessee Star has. But now it's become a thing because Channel 4, they got a guy over there who went to the judge you remember the lawsuit about to keep all of these documents, these diaries, just the diaries. That's what this is about. The lawsuit is just about the diaries. You need to understand that. And so the Channel 4 decided they would go and talk to the judge and say, did you see what Channel 4 did? I mean, did you see what the Tennessee Star did? They have those documents. Are they going to be held in contempt, Judge? Are they? And the judge was completely unaware of any of the reporting that had been done, but now has called for a big show cause hearing on Monday to try to determine about a little bit more about this leak, because as according to Channel 4's reporting on this, if the newly leaked pages are authentic, I have seen 2 pages of about 80, and I can tell you without a doubt they're authentic. Okay, folks, this absolutely authentic. This would be the second time that part of the journal found by the Metro Nashville Police Department in the shooter's car has been leaked. It comes after the judge in the case, Aisha Miles, warned against further leaks. Well, I mean, who are you warning against? Are you warning people from receiving leaks or from making leaks? I don't know. If you're a journalist and somebody leaks something to you, that happens from time to time. I guess that's what they mean. I'm not really clear what they mean. Well, here's the first thing I would say about Channel 4's actions. First, who made you the judge of journalism in Nashville? Do you feel like it's your responsibility to police the journalistic decisions of other organizations in this market? I mean, it really almost feels like a kindergarten playground. You're going to get in such trouble. I'm going to tell on you. Hey, Judge, did you see what the Tennessee Star did? They're reporting all this stuff that we don't have. And it smacks of jealousy and elitism on the part of Channel 4. I mean, it's almost as if they are saying, how can this be a story if we didn't break it? Well, the very first thing that I want you to know is that none of the diaries have been published. As I mentioned, I have 2 pages. I have talked about the things in the diary on the 2 pages that I have. I did that yesterday. And from what I can read of the Tennessee Star's reporting, they have talked about things that are contained in the diaries, but they have not published the diaries. The only documents that have been published by the Tennessee Star or by this reporter are Metro Nashville police documents, and that is a very different thing. That is not covered in the lawsuit. In full disclosure, I have only published things that are documents from the police investigation. I have played audio from an interview conducted with the parents some 4 months after the shooting. Were they leaked? Yes. And believe me, any reporter worth his or her salt, having seen the documents that I have in my possession, having heard the 2-hour and 13-minute long interview, would instantly recognize the news value of them and would report the details to the public. That's what good journalists do. Good journalists defend the public's right to know without fear or favor. Now, will the police conduct a leak investigation? Yeah, sure. I'm sure they will. Good luck with that. So I imagine this show cause hearing on Monday is going to be a very quick affair. If the judge had only taken the time to read the reports, she would know that none of the diaries have been published. Information from them has been analyzed, but not published. The documents themselves have not been published. And, you know, really, I just want to say that as I look at this thing and as I've gotten into it now pretty deeply over the course of several days, and I've done additional reporting on it over the weekend so that I'm kept up with everything that's going on, I think there is a huge story developing with the stories that have come out of the reporting on these documents that have found their way to the Tennessee Star, and a few of them that found their way to me. Number one, if notified of the shooter's desire to carry out a school shooting, her doctors and therapists had a duty to report. Now, she was under a care of specialists, doctors, therapists, a whole bunch of different people over the course of some 22 years, starting when she was about, I think, 6 years old or so. So there were a lot of people with whom she had worked with, and police say they have information that suggests that she told some of her medical professionals that she had a desire to carry out a shooting. She fantasized about carrying out a school shooting. Now, that means that they have a duty to report. And so the question number two is, if they did report, what happened? And if they didn't report, why not? Now, those are great questions. Those are very, very important questions to finding out exactly what happened here. And I'm just going to throw this out here, okay? Just think about this for a moment. I'm beginning to wonder if there is an ulterior motive on the part of some of those who are trying to block the release of the diaries to the public. You say, what are you talking about? Well, if those who knew about the shooter's fantasies did not report or follow the law, or alternatively, they did, but police didn't follow up on it, we don't know, the survivors might have a good lawsuit. But keeping the secrets of the diaries tied up in court for more than a year, with this silly case that has been going on and dragging on and on and on and on and on, has pushed this whole thing beyond the statute of limitations for civil cases in the state of Tennessee. Think about that for just a moment. Think about that for a moment. Because I've never seen a case like this one, where a bunch of people get together and decide that they're going to do everything they can to block the release of certain information that I think the public has a right to know. Why were they so interested? Everybody's been asking this question. Why are they so interested in stopping the release of this information? Why do they want it to be? Maybe they don't care if it gets released, but maybe they wanted to delay. Some of them wanted to delay the release of this information. Just a theory, but I think it's a good one, and I think it's a question worth asking. Because the statute of limitation in civil cases in the state of Tennessee is 1 year. So there's a lot of things here that are going on. This hearing on Monday with the judge, I expect it will be a pretty interesting hearing. I think that it should be probably a very short hearing, because what the judge has said is, I don't want any more leaks. Well, you can't control when something is leaked. I mean, I guess if you're part of the lawsuit, then you had some of these documents, leaking them to a reporter would be one thing. But what I'm saying is, if you have the documents, it's because somebody leaked them to you. How do you stop that from happening? I mean, if they just show up on your doorstep one day, what are you going to do? Ignore them? No. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know anything about the original source of these documents. I swear I don't. But they are authentic, and they are real. And what I think is sort of silly about this whole thing is that the local media, who didn't have the guts. I mean, let me tell you. Let me just say this: if somebody had dropped this on a reporter over at Channel 4 or Channel 5 or Channel 17 or Channel 2, I'm pretty sure they would have looked at this and they would have said, "Well, there's a story here. I guess we better get busy on this." At least I would like to think they would. Look, it's the reporter's job is to look at. I mean, I don't. I always think as a journalist, my job is I work for you. I work for my listeners. And if my listeners have an interest in a particular thing and I get the information, then I'm going to share it. Leaks happen. But when the information lands on your doorstep, you don't ignore it. Oh, I can't look at that. Oh, my goodness. That's the silliest thing I ever heard of. We are reporters. I'm a commentator, but I mean, my background is journalism. That's where I spent the bulk of my career. I did my due diligence. I feel good about what I've reported. I got no problems with it whatsoever. And I don't really need another news organization looking down their nose at me or anybody else and saying, I don't know. Are you sure? Oh, did you see what happened here? They're telling stuff that, and we don't have it, but they're just telling all this stuff. Judge, did you know about this? Come on. How low rent, how small market is that? It's 50 minutes now past the hour. Hey, let me tell you about the Wellness Institute of Nashville. You know, there are no pills or spinal creams that can magically open up your spinal disc to take the pressure off your nerves. Really, you have two choices. You have the choice of surgery, or you can try non-invasive spinal decompression. Now, I chose non-surgical spinal decompression at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. They got state-of-the-art facilities and the very latest in high-tech equipment that offers the very latest non-surgical procedures. See, getting better is so important to Dr. Kevin Mitchell and Dr. Ashley that they are offering half off spinal decompression treatments and the KT knee machine. And here's the thing, if you are a new patient, you can get your exam, your consultation, where they look at what they've learned, they come up with recommendations, and your first treatment for only $23. I can tell you, I had problems with my neck, I had problems with my lower back, and non-surgical decompression was the thing for me. It worked. I think it will work for you as well. My name is Brian Wilson, and I put my stamp of approval on the Wellness Institute of Nashville. So call them today at 615-246-5009. Learn more at paintisbad.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Hunter Biden, as you've been hearing, guilty on all counts in his gun trial, will have more reaction. House Republicans moving forward to hold Attorney General Merrick Garland in contempt of Congress. We'll explain why. We'll have all those stories and more coming up at the top of the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That would be Jay Harper there in the newsroom, bringing us all the news today. And Mason Fleming is behind the control room control buttons, all the blinky buttons there today. Well, they're button and they're sliders. And a few dials.
It's a nice little mix, not to keep me entertained.
A lot of buttons and dials and sliders. But he's there. Chris Webber taking this week off. He'll be back with us next week. Well-deserved break from my crazy. So good to have you, Mason. Let's take a look at the markets today. Dow Jones Industrials down 120 points at the end of the day. S&P was up 14, up a little. NASDAQ up about 151 points. So we have a mixed board today. What's this all about? Well, it sounds like the markets are looking towards some kind of big announcement from the Fed tomorrow. With more on that, let's check in with our friend John Maxon over at Beacon Capital Management for more. Hey, John, good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon, Brian. Yeah, the S&P and NASDAQ actually hit new records again today. The NASDAQ was up quite a bit. Apple actually up about 7% with their AI offering. But right now and this week, all the focus is really on the Fed. The Fed tomorrow is going to speak. They're expected to hold rates steady, but before the Fed speaks, we're going to get another indication from the CPI index on inflation, which is really the driver of the Fed. In addition to that, the Fed has what's called the Fed dot plot, where they're actually going to project where they're going with interest rates. That's not been updated since March. That's coming out tomorrow, and then Chairman Powell talking to the press tomorrow afternoon. So a big day for the Fed that's going to impact the market one way or another.
All right, thank you, John. We'll be anxious to see what happens tomorrow. And listen, if you think John Maxon might have some things that could help you, you should go and see them and talk to those folks over at Beacon Capital Management. Learn more about all the things they can do to help you get ready for your retirement. Just go to askbeaconnow.com. It's 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7.
Good afternoon. It's 1 minute past 4 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got plenty of sunshine on a pretty day, 79 degrees on Music Row, a complete weather forecast, and the latest traffic report. They're on the way. Hunter Biden found guilty on 3 counts related to his drug use when he purchased a revolver back in 2018. He now faces up to 25 years in prison. A sentencing date, though, yet to be set. Here's ABC's correspondent Stephen Portnoy. He's got more.
Jurors emerging from the federal courthouse told reporters that the panel was initially split down the middle, with half of the jury not initially ready to convict the president's son. But as the discussions went on over 3 hours, those pushing for a guilty verdict prevailed. One juror who ultimately voted to convict said she saw the trial as a waste of taxpayer dollars, adding that she believes Hunter Biden needs help and should now be fined rather than imprisoned.
They want the tapes. House Republicans moving forward with their push to hold Attorney General Merrick Garland in contempt of Congress, while the quote-unquote transcripts of President Biden's interview with the special counsel investigating alleged mishandling of classified documents have already been made public. Republican lawmakers have been eager to get their hands on the actual audio recordings of those conversations. Today, during a markup hearing for the contempt resolution against the Attorney General in the House Rules Committee, Congressman Jamie Raskin said Republicans' previous attempts to go after Garland have gone absolutely nowhere.
They want to listen to the book on tape in a last-ditch attempt to blame a cabinet member for the spectacular failure of their laughingstock impeachment drive.
If the resolution passes committee today, a top GOP source says the full House could vote on the issue by tomorrow. Last year, a group of car makers announced they're teaming up to build public charging infrastructure for electric vehicles. Now we're getting some new news and new details about that plan. Here's ABC's Mike Dubusky.
Durham, North Carolina will be the new headquarters for IONNA, the new company made up of 7 automakers, including BMW, Honda, and General Motors. The facility is set to feature what the company calls a quarterback lab, where each company can test out software updates and how certain EV technologies work with others. IONNA says it wants to eventually build 7 of these labs across the country. For now, it's set to bring more than 200 jobs to the Durham area.
Other car companies involved include Hyundai, Kia, Mercedes-Benz, and Stellantis. Stellantis, the owner of Chrysler. That is the latest news, traffic, and weather. They're next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
It is 8 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Brian Wilson in the chair all the way till about 7 o'clock tonight when we'll hand it over to Mark Levin, the great one. Hope you're having a great afternoon, enjoying this amazing weather that we're having, getting out there and taking advantage of these long days. We just got a few more long days. Then they start getting shorter again. I mean, it's I know. I look at the glass as half full most of the time. But summer, technically, is the longest day of the year. First day of summer, longest day of the year. And after that, they start to get shorter. So enjoy this time of year where you got these nice, lazy, long afternoons. Okay. One thing we're seeing that the president has arrived in Wilmington. They're showing some pictures now of his arrival at the air base there in Wilmington. And he was met by his son, Hunter. As you know, Hunter was found guilty today on all 3 charges that were related to that gun case. So, interestingly enough, today, after the verdict came down, President Biden had to give a speech on gun issues. And one of the things he said in his speech was, let's make sure that we're locking up all these guns. Well, if Hunter Biden had locked up his gun, a lot of this probably would have never happened. Nobody would have ever known. But that's water under the bridge. Hunter Biden found guilty today, and every time I see the president now, it's like he just looks like a zombie. There's that 1,000-yard stare. I mean, did you see him outside the White House for the Juneteenth celebration? I mean, they're playing music and everybody's moving and grooving, and he just stands there and stares off into the distance, almost as if he's frozen. It's just weird. You got to wonder how much of that the old guy is really there. They trot him out, make him read the teleprompter. He stumbles off the stage. He fumbles and mumbles and stumbles his way through event after event after event. But this is their nominee, ladies and gentlemen, the way it looks. Okay, let's do a 24 report. We don't want to go back to 2022, believe me. Let's 2024. Things are shaping up a little better here. One of the things that I think is interesting is that according to a lot of people who've been looking at the numbers, part of the reason why Trump is doing better than you might expect is that a number of black voters are coming his way, and a great number of Hispanic voters are now coming his way, young voters as well. And it's just shocking to the Democrats, but it is happening. There's no doubt about it. It's especially interesting to look at the Hispanic vote, which has been pretty reliable for many years for the Democrats. But now, I guess, a lot of people thought Hispanics would vote on the issue of immigration and that they would like what the Biden administration was doing. Turns out not to be the case at all. And it turns out that Hispanic voters are not one-issue voters. They are also concerned about their own economic well-being. And they remember that they had it a lot better under Trump than they have it under Biden. They were starting to really get some prosperity under their belt under Trump, starting to do big. And then, here comes Bidenomics and here comes the Biden economy. And now it's a struggle. It is a struggle because everything's gone up about 20%, except your salary hasn't gone up that much, has it? No, it hasn't. CNN did an analysis of this, and there has been a huge shift away from Biden and toward Trump.
At this point in 2020, Joe Biden had a very clear advantage, right? 59%, 32%. That's a 27-point lead. Look at this tremendous shift. Oh, my goodness gracious. Now to 2024. Biden's dropped by 8 points, 51%. Trump is up 12 points to 44%. And you have what was a 27-point margin has been shrunk to 7. That margin has been shrunk by 20 points now versus this point 4 years ago. So it's no wonder that Donald Trump thinks he can play for the Hispanic vote. And it's no wonder that Joe Biden thinks he has to defend against Trump's advantage. Where are these campaigns going to be focusing if they're focusing on Hispanic voters? Well, it's pretty clear from this screen, John, that they're going to be focusing on the Southwest, right? Nevada, 19%. That's the percentage that Hispanics make up of likely voters. How about Arizona? They make up 17%.
Now, so, honestly, when you realize that about 20% of the Hispanic vote has moved away from Biden and over to the Trump column, that could be a lot of what we're seeing around the country. Black votes, sure, Joe Biden's got the majority of black votes, but a greater number of black voters are moved away from Biden and toward Trump. He's got more black support than any Republican has had in many, 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 many years. Young voters, same way. Does Biden still have the majority of young voters? Yeah, but a great number of them are moving over toward the Trump column. I mean, it's just absolutely verifiable when you look at the data. The data on this are quite impressive. And ladies and gentlemen, I've been talking about how, and finally, I think some people have decided to pay a little attention. I've been saying for some time now, we need to consider Virginia a battleground state, and now some have actually labeled it as such, because Trump and Biden are in a tie. I mean, it's a dead even tie in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and he's in the game there. He's in the hunt, and that's a surprise. Here's one that's even more surprising. Let's just we'll do both of them. Fox News: Trump within striking distance of Biden in competitive blue-leaning state poll. Donald Trump was narrowly edged in Minnesota 8 years ago by Hillary Clinton, but Joe Biden carried the state by 7 points in 2020. Republican hasn't carried Minnesota in our presidential election since President Richard Nixon's 1972 landslide re-election over a half-century ago. But a new poll in Minnesota shows a competitive race between President Biden and former President Trump in their 2024 election rematch. Minnesota, don't you know? The president stands at 45% among likely voters in Minnesota, with Trump at 41, a 4-point difference. That is almost within the margin of error. It may actually be in the margin of error. This is a poll conducted June 3rd through the 5th for the Star Tribune and KARE Channel 11 TV. So you got Biden at 45, Trump at 41 in Minnesota. I mean, our friend Pete Hegseth is from Minnesota. I'll ask him about this tomorrow when we get him here. Democrat turned independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. stood at 6% in the survey, with 2% backing someone else if the election were held today. Trump was narrowly edged in Minnesota in the 2016 election by 1.5 points. That was the race against Hillary Clinton. But 4 years later, Biden carried the state by 7 points as he defeated Trump and won the White House. We're going to win this state, Trump predicted last month in a speech as he headlined the state GOP annual Lincoln Reagan fundraising dinner in St. Paul, Minnesota, the capital city. The poll pointed to a significant enthusiasm gap. Listen to this. Same poll. 63% of Trump supporters say they were very enthusiastic about casting a ballot for their candidate, compared to 31% of voters backing Biden. Only 31% of the Biden people are enthusiastic about voting for him. 800 registered voters in Minnesota were surveyed in the poll, with an overall sampling error or plus of minus 3.4 percentage points. So, that is within the margin of error. But I got to tell you that if you told me that Trump was within 4 points of Biden in Minnesota, I would have said, I don't know, what are you drinking? And I mentioned Virginia. Here's another story about that from the Washington Examiner. Governor Glenn Youngkin said in recent polling data in Virginia indicate residents do not want Joe Biden's weak America and instead want former President Trump back in office. The polling data Youngkin referred to showed that Trump and Biden are tied in Virginia, a state Biden won by 10 points in 2020. When asked if this could mean Virginia could flip to red in November, Youngkin, the Republican governor, argued that it could, noting how polls for swing states, including Georgia and Pennsylvania, are leaning toward Trump because voters are shifting away from the current president. They want a strong America. Youngkin said on Fox News' Hannity, they want an America that has an economic strength, not the Biden-generated economy that unleashed inflation. They want an America that has a national security strength, not the indecisive, weak America that Joe Biden has created. They want an America that has a secure border, not the one that has terrorists and illegal immigrants and fentanyl flowing across from the border every day. We see it in Virginia. We literally have 5 Virginians dying on average from fentanyl overdose. I guess that's on a daily basis. We had 2 illegal immigrants crash the gates at Quantico in a box truck recently, and they want an America that has energy independence. We're so tired that I can hear every single day of being told you have to buy an EV if you live in California, but not in Virginia anymore because we declared our independence on that. Yeah, I mean, Virginia, there was a time when they called it a purple state, meaning it could go either way, and it was a battleground state. But in recent years, it's been sort of been labeled as being in the blue column. You got heavy Democrat voters in Northern Virginia, just outside the nation's capital, just across the Potomac River, is in Northern Virginia, and it's full of Democrats, many of them who work for the federal government. Downstate has always been more red, and then the deciding factor were a few states, a few counties here and there that were considered bellwether counties. Loudoun County comes to mind. But Loudoun County is a bellwether. As Loudoun County goes, generally goes the whole state. And it's been close in Loudoun County. But, the 2 major population centers are blue. Everything else is red downstate. So Virginia, it's a tie. Trump in Minnesota, my goodness, I can't believe it. It's within the margin of error. All of this is telling me that there's something happening here. There is a movement. Something is beginning to shift. And if I were a Democrat, I would be absolutely terrified by all of this information. 20 minutes now past the hour, 4 o'clock. Let's talk about King and Associates Insurance in Brentwood, an independent agency. They've been in business some 25 years. You want an independent agency. You want an independent agency. You know why? Because an independent agency is one that can shop around. They don't have to just take whatever product they have and sell it to you. They can look around and look at a number of different products and find the one that really most perfectly fits your need. And what happens when you do that? Well, you get a lot more bang for your insurance buck, right? A lot more insurance at a better cost. That's what you want. And King and Insurance can do that. They really, really, really can. The other thing I like about them is that you get great customer service. If you call this number, 615-329-8121, you're not going to get a recording. You're not going to get, somebody says, I know, please stand by. Your call is so important to us. And you know it's not really, or they would have answered the phone by now. Well, if you call that number, an actual human being will answer the phone. They will take your information. They will connect you with somebody who can help you. They'll answer your questions. They are the kings of the multi-policy discount. You can save a lot of money by bundling 20, 25, 30, 35%. Huge savings are possible. So get your royal review with King and Associates Insurance. Just log into tkinginsurance.com. That's tkinginsurance.com. King Insurance and Associates, royal treatment and great rates.
President Biden today, after his son was convicted in that federal gun trial, spoke to a gun control group. We'll let you know some of what he said, and we'll also have today's closing money news. That's all coming up at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 25 minutes now past the hour, 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy. Thank you for listening to The Drive on this Tuesday, June 11th. I got a lot of stuff. We're going to go to the swamp here, but let me talk. I got all kinds of really interesting, juicy little tidbits here to share with you. I've wondered. I think I may move this over to the 2024 report, because I think one of the things people wanted to know, and something I've been curious about, is did this whole thing that Biden has pulled off with the student loan handouts, basically paying off people's student loans, did that work for them or did it hurt? Because I've been of the opinion that it probably hurt them more than helped them. I mean, sure. I mean, a lot of people say, hey, you got the handout, say, yeah, I'm going to pay off your student loan. They go, thank you very much. And they might be grateful, and they might then therefore vote for Biden. I thought it was a blatant attempt to buy votes. I think there are people out there who would take the money and still vote against him. Just between you and me, I think there's a lot of people out there just, take it and pay off their student loan debts. But I think it really hacked off a lot of people who like, for example, I'll tell you my story. I saved the money for my daughter to go to college so she wouldn't have to take out a student loan. And I feel like a chump now, because I just should have taken out a student loan and then, they would have paid it off. The vast majority of people who got the benefit of having their loans paid off make $300,000 a year or more. Did you know that? Check out that statistic. It's true. And then there are all the people who say, well, hold on a minute. Why should my taxpayer dollars, the hard-earned taxpayer dollars that I send to the federal government, why should they go to pay off some other joker's debt? Maybe I couldn't afford to go to college, or maybe I made a decision not to go to college. Maybe I paid off my student loan debt. And now I'm feeling like a chump because I did the thing that I said I was going to do. I kept my promise when I got that loan. I paid them back. So I think there's a lot more people like that than there are people who are going to be, oh, I'm so glad that my student loan debt is gone. Thank you, Joe Biden. I must now vote for you. New poll finds only 3 in 10 Americans approve of President Biden's handling of student debt relief, which was a major campaign issue, a campaign promise of the Biden administration. 3 in 10 adults say they approve of how Biden has handled the issue of student loan debt, while 4 in 10 disapprove. A new poll from the University of Chicago Harris School of Public Policy and the Associated Press Nork Center for Public Affairs Research found. The others are neutral or say they just don't have enough to say. So more people disapprove of the action than approve. So how's that going to work out for you when they go to the polls? I think it made a lot of people mad. So there's that. The results reveal a deep divide over the issue of student debt relief, even as Biden is pressing ahead with the new cancellation plan in a bid to energize young adults and Black and Hispanic Americans. As we told you earlier, he's losing a lot of Hispanic voters. This is something. Nancy Pelosi, on January 6th, her daughter Alexa is a filmmaker, and she had a camera on Nancy Pelosi on that day. And the House Republicans have released some that has never been seen before. It's Nancy Pelosi getting into her car, staff, security, getting her to the car in the basement of the Capitol and driving her out. Driving her away from the Capitol. She's basically abandoning the Capitol during the Capitol Hill riots. And she's caught on camera saying that there was a lack of accountability, and she accepted responsibility for not calling the National Guard in. Now, we've been saying this for some time now, that Nancy Pelosi turned around. She was asked time and time again, and the president said he was happy to send, that the Trump president at the time was Trump, said he was happy to send the National Guard before this day came along. Thought that they would do it, and Nancy Pelosi kept saying, no, 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 no. I don't like the optics of it all. The police kept telling her, Madam Speaker, we think that this is probably a good idea. Maybe we should put up security a little more stiffly. Well, here is the actual sound of the tape of her getting into the car. She sounds like she's intoxicated to me. I mean, she sounds like, I hate to say it, I think she's drunk. I mean, she does. She sounds very intoxicated. But she does, if you listen carefully, she takes full responsibility for not having the National Guard there on January 6th.
I mean, we asked them. They put out a piece of paper saying, go through the tunnel, don't go outside. They say they got stuff, but they can't tell us what it is. It's too prepared. They want the other side to know. We have responsibility, Terry. We did not have any accountability for what was going on there, and we should have. This is ridiculous. You're going to ask me in the middle of the thing when they've already breached the inaugural stuff that should we call the Capitol Police? I mean, the National Guard? Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with?
They thought that they had sufficient resources.
No, there's not a question of how they had. They don't know. They clearly didn't know, and I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for more. Because it's stupid that we should be in a situation like this. Because they thought they had what? They thought these people would act civilized? They thought these people gave a damn? What is it that is missing here in terms of anticipation? They give us a piece of paper, it says, walk through the tunnel, don't walk outside. That's our preparation for what's going on. Jeez.
Is it just me? I mean, does she sound like she's really slurring her language there? I mean, Mason, I'm just asking independent thought here. Did it sound like to you that Nancy Pelosi was like slurring her words?
It was very jumbled. It was a little...
It was, yeah.
I was listening
can
to the whole
understand why
thing.
you might be a little rattled given the fact that the Capitol has just been invaded and you've been rushed out to your car. I can understand being a little rattled, but she seems like she's slurring her words and it's sort of incoherent, isn't it?
Yeah, the thoughts coming out of her mouth seemed very jumbled together and a little more than just a out-of-breath situation.
But what she said is that I take responsibility because they told me they had it under control. It's my responsibility. Look, I mean, the evidence is very clear. She was asked a number of times by the police officials there on Capitol Hill, the Capitol Police, do you want, we can get the National Guard. The president said we can get the National Guard, but they didn't get the National Guard. 30 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock.
Good afternoon. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got a lot of sunshine, another pretty day here in Middle Tennessee, 79 degrees on Music Row. A full forecast and traffic in just a few minutes. After President Biden's son Hunter was found guilty on all counts in his federal gun trial, the president highlighting the work his administration has done to curb gun violence. That was in a speech today in Washington. Mr. Biden spoke to advocates from Everytown. They're a group that's been lobbying for stricter gun laws for years. In his speech, the president called for another assault weapons ban.
We're not stopping there. It's time once again to do what I did when I was a senator. Ban assault weapons.
In his speech, the president also called for tougher background check laws and regulations on gun storage. Now with today's closing money news, here is Daria Albinger.
From ABC News Wall Street now, stocks wavered ahead of an announcement from the Fed. The Dow fell 121 points while the S&P rose 15. The Nasdaq added 151. The Federal Reserve's Open Markets Committee, the people who decide what's happening with interest rates, are meeting. The central bank is expected to announce when it adjourns on Wednesday that it will leave them unchanged. waiting for inflation to get closer to that 2% target before it announces a cut. If you filled up lately, you have probably noticed gas prices are falling. The AAA says its national average is $3.44 a gallon. That's down about 8 cents from a week ago, more than 19 cents from a month back, and over 14 cents down from this time last year. Now, industry analysts point toward mild demand, increasing supply, and at least for the time being, relatively low oil prices. Then again, they say all of that could change on a moment's notice.
That is the latest news, traffic, and weather. They are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
DT McCall's, man, what a good company. They've been around in Middle Tennessee for more than a century, more than 100 years. Now, think about that. Do you know any other family-owned businesses that have lasted that long? I think the reason that they have is because they have a reputation for treating people fairly and forthrightly, and they're honest with you. They're upfront with you. I mean, they'll deal. If you decide you're going to buy something from DT McCall, they're going to give you a good price. They're going to quote you a good price, and when you look at it, you say, that's a good price. And then here's the other thing. They're not going to upcharge you on things like, delivery and setup and haul away. At the big box stores, they give you, they lowball you, quite frankly. They give you a low price, and you think, well, that's a good price. But then they add on things like, well, it's going to cost you more to have it delivered. Oh, did you want it set up? Oh, yeah, that's going to cost a little more too. Jen, well, did you add it up here and then carry the one? And then, oh, did you want the old thing hauled away? Well, sure you do. That's where they get you. They just don't play that game at DT McCall's. No upcharges for delivery, setup, and haul away. If whatever you need for your family, you need furniture, man, they got it. You need a bedroom suite, they got it. You need appliances for your kitchen, they've got it. You need a mower. I'm telling you, I've got a Cub Cadet mower I got from DT McCall. It's my favorite thing in the garage. I love that thing. It's a tank. I'm telling you, I love mowing my yard. But at DT McCall's, they're gonna be a good company to deal with you. 5 convenient locations. Keep your dollars local. Why give them to a big box store and have it go to some corporation in Delaware? Keep it local. DTMcCalls.com for their 5 convenient locations. That's DTMcCalls.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
It is 4:41 on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson. Welcome to the drive on this 11th day of June. I was talking to Cabana Wife about this, and she was asking me some questions about Jill Biden's travel, because, she did a lot of unusual travel this week because she was in the United States and the president went across over to France and was in France when for the 80th anniversary of the D-Day invasion of Normandy, and was there for all of those ceremonies. But Jill Biden wanted to be back home to be at the Hunter Biden trial, sit on the front row, intimidate the jury. And so when it came, there was one day where she needed to be there for sure, and she jumped in her Boeing 757 variant, which is called a C-32, and flew all the way over to France, attended one day's ceremony, immediately returned back to the United States let's see, what was it? She was in France, she flew back to the United States, and then flew back to France, all in about 48 hours, just so she could spend one day at the trial of her stepson, Hunter Biden. That's the way it was. National Taxpayers Union Foundation say the trip is estimated to have cost taxpayers $223,000 based on the use of the Boeing C-32, which is typically used for the First Lady's travel. The Air Force lists the reimbursable rate for use of that aircraft at $13,816 an hour. So that if you were to reimburse, that's what you would be charged. I remember when we flew on Air Force One, we had to pay the government double first class. Whatever that flight would have taken to go first class from point A to point B, we had to pay double to the government. That was the deal that we worked out. So, but does she have to, what does she have to pay? Maybe nothing. I don't know. This may all fall on the taxpayer. Now, look, there is a reason why she needs to have an aircraft. There are security concerns. It is almost unheard of for a First Lady to fly commercial because they can't control the security around her. So she got an entourage of people who go with her, and it's mostly security people who are with her, and a few staff people are with her all the time. So that's part of the job, I suppose. I don't think she should be penalized for the security, but this was I mean this was sort of like you're in France and you decide you want to be back for the one day of the trial, then you want to fly back to France. Was it really necessary? Was it really necessary? One way or the other, the taxpayer gets hit. Let's see. Apparently, the Democrat National Committee plans to reimburse the value of 2 first-class tickets for the trip she made, a DNC spokesperson told ABC News, yet did not specify the precise amount. If the DNC pays the current market value of the tickets for both flights, that would leave about $209,690 left for taxpayers to cover. Wow. There you go. Again, your taxpayer dollars at work. The Supreme Court is set to release a couple of major rulings as the term is ending. It's nearing its end. I think that just between you and me, watch very carefully what happens at the end of the term. It comes at about the end of June, later this month. They will pretty much wrap up, and so between now and then, a lot of cases are going to be coming out and big decisions from the high court. January 6th in presidential power. The court's opinion in Trump versus United States may be the most anticipated ruling this term. It could weaken special counsel Jack Smith's prosecution against Donald Trump in Washington. Experts have speculated that the court will widen the scope of immunity that presidents enjoy by remanding the case back to the district court to make changes based on their ruling. If it does, the trial likely wouldn't start until after the election and could extend beyond President Trump's would-be inauguration if he wins re-election, raising the possibility his Justice Department would simply drop the prosecution. All right. Administrative power, this is one I think we talked about yesterday. Justices decided to take on several big cases, a term that could narrow the scope of regulators' power For decades, courts have handled legal challenges to regulation with a level of deference toward how bureaucrats interpret their authority under laws passed by Congress. What did we learn yesterday? Class, what did we learn yesterday? The Chevron deference, or deference, doctrine known as the Chevron Doctrine, and its associated decision have been used in thousands of cases since the 1980s. Basically saying that great deference should be given to the different agencies and their interpretation of laws written by Congress if they feel like the language that Congress provides them is ambiguous, and they always do. We got some abortion cases 2 years after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. The justices continue to hear consequential cases on abortion. The decision in Dobbs v. Jackson's Women's Health Organization returned the authority to regulate abortion to the states, leading to varying state-by-state laws and greater interest in the out-of-state options, such as obtaining the abortion pill via mail. FDA deregulated the abortion pill by removing the requirement that it be dispensed in person. And so a group of doctors sued and eventually reached the Supreme Court, arguing the FDA's deregulation was unlawful and irresponsible. 2 food cases will also be considered there, so those are things to watch. Host of social media cases this term have offered an opportunity for the court to clarify legal boundaries on its use. In March, the court held in Lindke versus Freed and O'Connor-Ratliff that public officials could block individuals on social media under certain circumstances. So the court is still expected to release opinions in a set of cases involving state restrictions on social media content moderation. So there's that. Speaking of the high court, much as buzz is about some things that happened when Samuel Alito and his wife attended a rather conservative Supreme Court Historical Society. Let's start that again. Supreme Court Historical Society event in June of 2023. Turns out there was somebody there, a woman, who paid her ticket, claimed to be a conservative, claimed to be someone who was there as an attendee, who was surreptitiously recording people. Apparently, they tried it with Chief Justice John Roberts. They tried it with Alito. And they tried it with his wife, and they got some things. I don't think I look at what they said and I go, yeah, so what? It doesn't matter much to me. Much is being made of the comments made to Martha Ann Alito, who of late has come under a great deal of attention because of the big upside down flag controversy. That's really not a controversy. It was just a sort of a match she was having with her neighbors. You know what kind of match I'm talking about. She recorded by liberal documentary filmmaker Lauren Windsor, posing as a Christian conservative, spoke at length with Miss Alito at a dinner reception hosted by the Supreme Court Historical Society last week. Windsor attended the dinner as a dues-paying member, bought a ticket, and a colleague joined her. This is now being reported on Rolling Stone. I want to get my picture on the cover. Was first reported on Windsor's conversation with Justice Alito on Monday. And other outlets have recently relayed stories of Martha Ann's tense interactions with neighbors. You've heard that story. In the most jarring moment in the recording, this is from Yahoo.com, Windsor attempts to pose the same prompt she presented to Justice Alito about how, in order to take America back to a godly place, the conservatives need to win. She doesn't complete the thought before Miss Alito starts complaining about having to see rainbow pride flags in June, which is Pride Month. You know what I want? I want a Sacred Heart of Jesus flag because I have to look across the lagoon at the pride flag for the next month. Referencing her husband, Miss Alito says, he's like, oh, please, don't put up the flag. I won't do it because I'm deferring to you, but when you are free of this nonsense, I'm putting it up and I'm going to send them a message every day, maybe every week. I'll be changing the flags. There'll be all kinds. I made a flag in my head. This is how I satisfy myself. I made a flag. It's white and has yellow and orange flames around it, and the middle of the word is vergogna. Vergogna in Italian means shame. I think this Martha Ann Alito, I think she's a pistol. I think I'd enjoy having dinner with her. I think it'd be a lot of fun. Find out what's on her mind. 51 minutes now past the hour. You know, the same company you've trusted for 30 years in your crawl space is now offering mold treatments. I'm talking about United Structural Systems, USS, and they're offering $500 off any mold growth solution now through the end of the month of June 30th. You got to take action by then. USS, most trusted, most experienced crawl space repair company in Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky. And if you've got mold in your crawl space, you've got a problem. It is not healthy. You know, all of that air in your crawl space ends up in your house at some point. And it can really be not good for your health. But if you get the RTE, the 3-step RTE process from USS, you will remove, you will treat, then you will encapsulate that mold, and it will not come back. You'll be guaranteed to be mold-free. $500 off the USS 3-step RTE process. Remove, treat, and cap. Now, don't wait. Humidity is rising, so call now and get $500 off the USS Mold Treatment RTE solution. Your space will be warranted and backed by a USS guarantee, giving you peace of mind knowing that any mold spores will no longer fill the airways of your home. USS is here to help for all your foundation and waterproofing needs. Just visit USSTN.com or call them at this number, 615-488-7855.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Hunter Biden found guilty in his federal gun trial. We'll hear from the prosecutor in the case. Hamas has submitted its response to the latest ceasefire proposal. And Hendersonville grocery shoppers, you may soon be seeing a little bit of tax relief. We'll have those stories for you at 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, thank you. Thank you. That's our good friend Jay Harper, who's in the newsroom here today. Mason Fleming is in the control room pushing all the blinky buttons, while our good friend Chris Webber has a week off. What? It's great to be Chris Webber this week. If I seem a little distracted, it's because in the background I have running my bird cam. I have a lot of exciting things going on with my birds. We have a nest of birds that are growing in our garden. And I can see them on my phone. Mason, would you like to see the birds? Aren't they?
Oh, that's so
Baby
cool.
birds. Yeah, it is pretty cool. It is 58 minutes. Coming up, we're going to be talking about the Hunter Biden verdict today. Guilty as charged on all 3 counts, and a lot more. So stay with us, everyone. It's 59 minutes past the hour.
Good afternoon, 5 o'clock. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Man, if we had a nice sunny day, it continues. We've got 79 degrees on Music Row, a nice forecast, and the latest traffic report, which haven't been that nice. They're coming up. Guilty on all charges. A federal jury in Delaware convicting President Biden's son, Hunter, on 3 felony counts related to his purchase of a firearm back in 2018 while he was allegedly on drugs. The case was brought to trial by special counsel David Weiss, who was appointed by the current Attorney General, Merrick Garland. That happened after a failed plea deal. Weiss, after the verdict, thanked Garland for letting him and his team pursue the case.
I want to thank Attorney General Garland for providing the support necessary to fulfill our mission, ensuring that we have the independence to appropriately pursue our investigations and prosecutions.
Turning now to the war in Gaza. Hamas has submitted its response to the latest ceasefire proposal. That was one put forth by the U.S. and overwhelmingly endorsed by the UN Security Council. A U.S. official familiar with the negotiations describes Hamas's response as not an outright yes or no, but a counteroffer with questions about provisions included in the proposal and some additional demands. Here's ABC's Tom Burridge in Tel Aviv with more.
The Israeli government and Hamas still have competing interests in the type of deal they want to accept. Hamas, we know, wants a deal which at least gives a clear pathway towards a definitive end to the war. The Israeli government is only willing to accept that type of deal if it first can, quote, achieve its objectives.
2 hours southeast in Atlanta, 4 people shot. Authorities in Atlanta say a 34-year-old man entered a shopping mall with a handgun, got into an argument with somebody, and then started shooting. An off-duty Atlanta police officer happened to be on the scene. He engaged the suspect and shot him. Police say they were all breathing, alert, and conscious. Everyone's expected to survive. At a news conference earlier this afternoon, Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens, he thanked the off-duty officer who took down the shooter.
We thank him. We thank his team members for being there to help assist and to be able to take that individual into custody and to bring safety to everyone else. So we thank him for being there.
And finally, in Hendersonville, the city council there wants to make groceries a little cheaper for the residents. Back last year, the city passed an ordinance raising the tax rate in the town from 2.25% to 2.75% over the next 10 years. Now they're talking about keeping grocery taxes out of that increase. They were expected today to have the first reading on the ordinance to decrease the local option sales rate on groceries from 2.75% to 2.25%. This wouldn't be possible, however, without a new law. But last month, Governor Lee, he signed a new law allowing city governments to lower grocery tax rates. That is the latest news, traffic, and weather. There next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
It is 7 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7, hour number 3 of the drive now beginning. So glad you're with us. And again, you could not have asked for a better day. We've still got a very pleasant 80 degrees, low humidity, abundant sunshine. I mean, just the kind of day you want to spend out on the back porch in the evening as the day starts to cool down. Just a great day. I love days like this. I hope that you're having a good drive home. Hope things aren't too terrible for you out on the roadways while you're making your way home from whatever it is you've been doing today. I will try to give you the news and information you need to know so that you arrive home well informed. And I guess the big story here today is Hunter Biden found guilty on all 3 charges in the gun case today. 54-year-old Hunter Biden convicted of 3 felony counts by a federal jury, which deliberated a little over 3 hours over 2 days in a case that exposed a dark period of substance abuse and all kinds of other things. He is the first child of a sitting president to be convicted of criminal charges. The jury found that when Hunter Biden bought a .38 caliber Colt Cobra revolver in October of 2018, he lied on a federal form by checking a box to say that he wasn't addicted to or using drugs at the time. And during the week of the trial proceedings, jurors heard about his years-long struggle to stay sober, including evidence that he bought and used drugs in the weeks before and the days after the purchase of the firearm from a gun shop in his hometown of Wilmington. He sat stone-faced in the verdict as it was read, and he departed the courtroom. He smiled, embraced his lawyer, Abby Lowell, and other members of his defense team, hugged his wife, Melissa Cohen Biden. All of those things happened today. A complete victory for the prosecution, not a good day for the defense, and he's got about 120 days before they will move forward with the sentencing phase of the whole thing. And we don't know exactly what the sentencing will be. I read something that said that the judge in this particular case had a history of giving jail time for gun crimes. And so it'll be interesting to see whether that happens here. But indeed, a similar case, the judge sentenced somebody to a year in jail. He could serve as long as 25 years, honestly. That's what they're saying. So we'll see what happens there. After the verdict was read and the things calmed down for a moment, David Weiss, the special prosecutor, came to the microphones to address reporters. He did not take any questions, but he had a few things to get off his chest.
Earlier today, Hunter Biden was convicted of 2 counts of lying on a form submitted to a federal firearms dealer about his addiction or use of crack cocaine, and possessing a firearm while a user or addict. There have been 2 overarching themes emphasized by the prosecution during trial: this defendant's illegal choices and the rule of law. First, while there has been much testimony about the defendant's abuse of drugs and alcohol, ultimately this case was not just about addiction, a disease that haunts families across the United States, including Hunter Biden's family. This case was about the illegal choices defendant made while in the throes of addiction, his choice to lie on a government form when he bought a gun, and the choice to then possess that gun. It was these choices and the combination of guns and drugs that made his conduct dangerous. Second, no one in this country is above the law. Everyone must be accountable for their actions, even this defendant. However, Hunter Biden should be no more accountable than any other citizen convicted of this same conduct. The prosecution has been and will continue to be committed to this principle and to the principles of federal prosecution in carrying out its responsibilities. I want to thank the jury for their service. There are few civic responsibilities more important than jury service. 15 Delawareans came to court each day and performed their responsibilities in a professional and conscientious manner. We thank them. I want to thank Derek Hines, Leo Wise, and the entire special counsel team. I am so proud of this group of attorneys, agents, and litigation professionals. This is a difficult assignment. These folks have been working 7 days a week for the last couple months, litigating a variety of issues in district and appellate courts on two coasts. They have given their heart and soul to this work. They represent the best that public service has to offer. I am incredibly grateful. Finally, I want to thank Attorney General Garland for providing the support necessary to fulfill our mission, ensuring that we have the independence to appropriately pursue our investigations and prosecutions. As you know, we have additional trials and investigative work to be done. So I will not entertain questions at this time. Our work continues. Thank you for your consideration.
And with that, he turned and left the room, didn't have any time for any questions. He really can't talk about because other cases are pending. The tax case is pending. We'll get into some of the other things that Hunter Biden may be facing in the days ahead. And there's a new little problem that's erupted for him up on Capitol Hill. More on that in a moment. Jurors are allowed to talk to reporters. Generally, what the judge says is, you've ever been in a trial, you know this. They say, you can talk to reporters. You don't have to talk to reporters. It's clearly up to you. If you don't want to talk to reporters, don't. If you do, do. That's the way it is. So there was one juror who seemed willing to talk to reporters. The producer for Fox News was a guy named Jake Gibson, and he tracked down juror number 10.
Nobody's above the law, no matter who you are. And so that did not play a factor in my decision. It was not politically motivated, if you want to know that. Politics played no part in this whatsoever. We just went by the evidence.
Were you cognizant of the family members who were there and the First Lady being there? Was that something that the jury talked about or noticed?
Once we went into the jury room, we didn't discuss anything. We didn't discuss the family. We didn't discuss any part of the case until it was actually given to us. And it was given to us yesterday afternoon. That's when we were able to talk to one another.
Yeah, that sounds pretty interesting that they didn't talk at all among themselves, other than to say good morning. That's about it. And they came in, and then when they got the case, then they began talking. Only took them about 3 hours to come to that verdict. However, this is not the end of the line for Hunter Biden. He could go to jail for this. I don't know what's going to happen. Again, and no telling when that hearing will happen. Within 120 days, generally, they would have a sentencing, gave people a chance to get their affairs in order, have the judge hear from the different attorneys in the case as to what they recommend. But Hunter Biden's got some other problems, as was pointed out by Jonathan Turley, legal analyst for Fox News.
His counsel has got to refocus on that tax case. They're going into that case now with a convicted felon. Now, these are very different types of claims.
Right.
But there's a third front developing. Congress just referred what I consider to be a very strong case for a perjury investigation of Hunter Biden after his testimony before Congress. Now, the expectation is that Garland is going to basically scuttle that referral. But the problem is that the House seems to have Hunter Biden dead for rights on those perjury claims. It's hard to see how what he said before Congress were true. That's a much more serious offense, and it's currently sitting on the desk of Merrick Garland.
Well, okay, what do you think Merrick Garland's going to do? The Attorney General, do you think he'll... I mean, if you lie to Congress, you got to know that, when you're speaking to Congress, it is against the law to tell an untruth. And as Jonathan Turley has correctly pointed out there, I think there's a pretty strong case that in some of his testimony about his business dealings around the world, part of their Biden Incorporated investigation, he said some things that are palpably provable to be untrue. So he lied to Congress. That's a federal offense. And so that recommendation now goes to the Attorney General. Will the Attorney General have the guts to do what should be done here and take up the case? I don't know. I doubt it. Merrick Garland doesn't seem to be that guy. But that's true. It's a serious problem. Then he's got his big tax case, which starts in September. And so, let's say. So he's supposed to get 120 days. That's 3 months. So let's see. That's actually 4 months. So there you go. That's June, July, August, September, October. So right around just about the time of the election. Well, the timing couldn't be any worse for the Biden people, could it? He'll find out whether he's going to jail or not. And as I said, his tax trial is scheduled to start in September. So there'll be a lot of probably unsavory Biden news in the news cycle as we are getting closer and closer to Election Day in November. All right, so there's that. Hunter Biden said that he is disappointed in the verdict. Let's see, I've got a little statement here, if you care. Hunter Biden, he said he was guilty on all. He said he was very sorry. He said that I got to find the exact thing here. He said basically, I'll just sort of say, that his family has been there to support him, and that the love of his family and his community was more important than the loss they had today. By the way, his father just stopped everything that was going on at the White House and said, "Take me to Delaware." I mean, he had a thing he had to go to, a bunch of people at an auditorium where he talked about gun laws and said all the predictable things. But he got on Air Force One and flew to Wilmington, Delaware, and was met at the airport there on the tarmac by his son, 54-year-old Hunter Biden. There was a hug and a conversation. And I got to tell you, again, every time I see Joe Biden these days, it's concerning. I mean, he just looks like a zombie. And you realize this is a guy I covered for a lot of years. I remember a more dynamic Joe Biden. And in his day, he was a good orator. You may not agree with his politics, but I mean, he had the ability to persuade. He could give a good speech on the floor of the Senate. I watched him a lot of years, and I'm telling you, it was when I see him now, I go, who is this guy? Who is this person? He seems to just sort of be about half there. I mean, did you see the video of him standing on the lawn of the Capitol? I mean, on the lawn of the White House, where they're having a Juneteenth celebration, and there's a lot of music, and the people are dancing around and moving and grooving, and he just has this 1,000-yard stare. It's the best thing I've heard to describe it. 1,000-yard stare, where he just seems to be looking off into the distance with a bizarre look on his face. I mean, it's like, hello, is there anybody home here? Just stiff, not moving, frozen for like a minute, just staring off. I don't know, man. I'm telling you, it's scary that this man is in charge of our government. He is the leader of the free world. Or maybe I should say it's the staff who is the leader of the free world. 21 past the hour now. Let me tell you about the folks over at Beacon Capital Management, good people there. And they have a question for you. Are your retirement assets structured to minimize taxes? Might be hard to believe, but many hardworking Americans, just like you, could be overpaying on taxes in retirement. You may be taxed on your IRA, your 401k, any other tax-deferred retirement accounts. Beacon Capital Management is here to give you peace of mind. With the threat of massive tax increases just around the corner, your nest egg could be in trouble unless you take advantage of defensive tax-saving strategies now. Defend your hard-earned retirement savings by scheduling a free tax retirement analysis conducted free. It doesn't cost you a penny, no pressure, no obligation. If you've saved more than $250,000 for retirement, don't wait any longer to schedule your free retirement tax reduction analysis. Just call 615-488-9303 or visit AskBeaconNow.com. That's AskBeaconNow.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
More reactions in the Hunter Biden gun case, where he was found guilty on all counts. Illegal immigrants arrested in the U.S. with alleged ties to ISIS. And a shooting at an Atlanta shopping mall injures multiple people. We'll have those stories at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Remember H. Ross Perot? Remember the guy ran for Congress? Ran for the presidency. He was like, I think he got 19% of the vote. Well, he's got a family business, and of course, H. Ross Perot's no longer with us, but his son, Ross Perot Jr., is running the company now, and they have submitted building plans for a 13,000-acre facility in rural Wilson County. I got to tell you, out here in my neck of the woods, this is a big story, and it's a big development that he's proposing. Texas, this is from the Tennessean. Texas-based Hillwood, that's the name of their company, moving forward on a plan to create more than 10.3 million square feet of industrial space in rural Wilson County. The community has a petition drive against the industrial park development. Residents of rural eastern Wilson County near I-40 are bracing for a potentially huge industrial park that now requests to amend the land use plan, and a formal property rezoning have now been submitted. Now, the residents, I would say probably there's a reference in here about maybe 90% of the people who live in the region are against it. They don't like the idea. Conceptual plans have been submitted, show 10.3 million square feet of industrial-style office, warehousing, and light manufacturing space if the rezoning and land use amendments are ultimately approved, said Wilson County Planning Director Tom Brashear. A retail mix at the northwest corner of the grounds also proposed, with remaining areas to include maintaining agricultural use or a conservation easement on the proposed master plan. All told, about 1,380 acres. The working title for this facility is called Legacy Park. Many residents and landowners have opposed the development plan after Hillwood representatives met with the community about several months ago at Crossroads Fellowship Church to answer questions. About 475 signatures have been gathered, lobbying against the industrial park and the rezoning. It's an undefiled area, said one of the locals. My customers are farmers, and it would affect them greatly. I would say 95% are a solid no. And from what I'm seeing, I mean, you drive around out here in rural Wilson County, and you see a lot of signs to stop this development. I would say that there is a healthy group of people saying no. But the county has to make the decisions about rezoning. And the county would love to have the tax base that comes with a big facility like that, no doubt. But what will they do? The county mayor has been quoted as saying, I want whatever the people out there want. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with the planning commission. That meeting is scheduled for 10 a.m. on the 21st of June later this month. The applicants can determine whether they will move forward and seek approval from the county commission while adhering to whatever protocols are laid out by the zoning folks. So big, I mean, that is 10.3 million square feet of industrial space. By the way, going to be a new Buc-ee's closer to Nashville, be north of here, 23 miles from Bowling Green, 77 miles from Nashville. The nearest one, I think, is about 100 miles away. And so if you need to go get your Buc-ee's and get you some, I mean, they're pulled pork sandwiches, I'm telling you, to die for. That's good stuff right there. Well, one will only be 77 miles away here in the very near future. It is 30 minutes now past the hour. Time for the news.
Good evening. It is 5:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We're looking at a lot of sunshine. It's been that way all day, 79 degrees, and we'll have a complete forecast and another traffic report here momentarily. Hunter Biden found guilty on 3 counts related to his use of drugs when he bought a revolver back in 2018. He now faces potentially up to 25 years in prison. A sentencing date yet to be set. ABC's Stephen Portnoy, he has more.
Jurors emerging from the federal courthouse told reporters that the panel was initially split down the middle, with half of the jury not initially ready to convict the president's son. But as the discussions went on over 3 hours, those pushing for a guilty verdict prevailed. One juror who ultimately voted to convict said she saw the trial as a waste of taxpayer dollars, adding that she believes Hunter Biden needs help and should now be fined rather than imprisoned.
According to sources speaking to ABC News, Immigration and Customs Enforcement has arrested 8 people from Tajikistan with suspected ties to ISIS. Alex Stone reports.
They allegedly crossed over the U.S.-Mexico border legally last year. In an operation with the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force, the 8 have been arrested in New York, Philadelphia, and Los Angeles. They were allowed to enter the U.S. after being vetted, and no national security concerns were uncovered. But later, potential ties to ISIS were found. They've been tracked down and arrested. Efforts are underway to deport them now. Sources say there is not enough evidence to bring terrorism charges.
4 people shot 2 hours southeast down in Atlanta. Authorities there say a 34-year-old man entered a downtown shopping mall with a handgun, got into an argument with another person, and started shooting. An off-duty Atlanta police officer just happened to be on the scene. He started engaging the suspect and shot him. Everyone in the incident is expected to survive. At a news conference today, Police Chief Darren Shearbaum said that investigators are looking into whether the gunman knew the victims.
He did physically attack someone before he shot him, and so we're going to have to determine how did he know that individual.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather, they are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
How many times have you heard someone describe something as being the gold standard of this or gold standard of that? Well, when it comes to finding an investment that protects you from runaway inflation, gold is the gold standard. It is a tried and true store of value consistent across generations. Maybe you thought about adding gold or other precious metals to your portfolio, but feel like you don't have the knowledge you need to make a smart decision. I want to be honest with you. That's the way I felt, but I got the professional guidance I needed at Nashville Gold and Coin. The way this works is you make an appointment and you sit down one-on-one with my friends at Nashville Gold and Coin. They'll answer all your questions and help you make the precious metals investment that's right for you. It's friendly. You'll learn a lot. You'll never be subjected to a high-pressure sales pitch. Gold and silver can be a safe haven in uncertain economic times, and my friends at Nashville Gold and Coin are standing by to answer all your questions about the precious metals market. If you have some old coins laying around gathering dust, bring them along. I did that. Found out in my drawer, my sock drawer, I had $1,650 worth of coins. They were valuable. I had no idea. To set up that one-on-one appointment, just go to NashvilleGoldandCoin.com. That's NashvilleGoldandCoin.com. It is 39 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy. Glad to be with you on this Tuesday. Still 80 degrees outside and a beautiful evening on tap. So enjoy that. Get the full advantage of it. You know, over the past few days, I guess since last week, I've been doing some reporting on the Covenant shooting and some documents that have landed in my lap and tried to bring you up to date on what I have learned by studying these things. It sort of started off, the whole thing really kicked off, I think, when I did an interview with a former lieutenant who worked at the police department in their Office of Professional Accountability. His name was Lieutenant Garrett Davidson, former lieutenant, and we were talking to him about a complaint that he filed against the police department, some 60 pages of things that he said were wrong. There will be an investigation. They've hired an independent investigator to look into those matters. But during our interview, he said some things about the Covenant shooting investigation that sort of piqued our interest, and we made a little news with that. Then there was, let's just call it what it is. There was a leak, and documents found their way to the Tennessee Star, and some documents found their way to me. And so I had a remarkable document. I'll just be honest with you. I'll tell you exactly what it was. I've made no secret of it. There was, about 4 months into the investigation into the Covenant shooting, police detectives went over to the home of the shooter, Audrey Elizabeth Hale. And, she's dead now, so they had a lot of questions trying to fill in a lot of the gaps. But they did a 2-hour and 13-minute interview. I have both the transcript and the recording of that conversation. Now, why that is such an interesting, particularly interesting document is the police detectives were trying to figure out some things that still remained a question to them at that point in the investigation, some 4 months after the shooting. But they were also filling the family in on things that they had learned so far in their investigation. And some of it was hard to hear. For example, this wasn't apparently she had homicidal ideation for some time. She had apparently told one of her therapists that she wanted to carry out a school shooting. She had fantasies about it. She wrote in her diaries, according to the detectives, that she wanted to come back home after, if she survived the attack at the school, she wanted to come back home and kill her father, among other things. There's some pretty dark stuff in there. I have another document that's from detectives on the day of the shooting as they arrived at the family home there, and the things that the parents said on that day. I have acquired 2 pages from the diary. I believe this to be the diary that was found in the car. The Tennessee Star has been on record as saying they have some 80 pages from the diary found in the car that day. There were 2 diaries found in the car, and all told, between that and the ones they discovered at home, they have about 20 or so diaries that the shooter had written, starting back at the time that she was in middle school, all the way forward. Now, that's a lot of the reporting that I've been doing are things that came from those documents. The Tennessee Star has put out some 30 articles, given the documents they have, a much larger group of documents, apparently. So now comes a little bit of a brouhaha that was started by the folks over at WSMV. They have an investigative reporter over there, and the investigative reporter went to the judge in the case and said, the judge in the case where they're trying to keep these documents secret, all of the diaries. There's a big lawsuit, all kinds of stuff going on, about 50 lawyers involved in it. The school is involved in the case. The parents are involved in the case. The church is involved in the case, all trying to keep these documents from becoming public. But as you know, some of them have leaked out. Now, here's the thing. Channel 4 then goes to the judge and says, hey, what about all these documents? The judge says, what documents? Judge completely unaware, apparently, that these documents were out there and being reported on. Well, she's called what they call a show cause hearing for next Monday. They're going to drag everybody involved in this case to find out about the leak. Channel 4 says, well, what are you going to do, Judge? What are you going to do about this, Judge? The judge said, well, I'll hold a hearing. Turns out, though, that the Tennessee Star has not published any of the documents from the diary. They have published documents from the police investigation, but that's a whole nother kettle of fish. That's a different thing. The actual diary is what the lawsuit is all about, and they have not published any of those documents. Now, have they looked at them? Yes. Have they reported things that they found in them and reported them in stories? Yes. I have done that. I have looked at the limited documents I have from the diary, and I have taken stuff from it, and I have reported it. I did that yesterday. I have taken things from the police investigation, and I have reported them, but I have published no documents. They have published no documents from the diary. The only thing I've published and the only thing they have published are documents from the police investigation, which is not a part of this lawsuit. That's a whole different thing. But there's something about, Channel 4's action here that really bothers me. It's almost like, it's a kindergarten playground. It's like, hey, Judge, did you see what they did? You're going to be in trouble. They reported stuff. Well, yeah, that's what a good journalist does. We report stuff. There's something about this that smacks of jealousy and elitism on the part of Channel 4 by stirring this up. Almost as if they're saying, how can this possibly be a story? We didn't break it. Well, listen, as I told you, none of the diary had been published by the Star or by me. There have been some documents from the police investigation that have been published and discussed. And yes, some things that are in the diaries have been discussed in some of the reporting, but they have not officially been published. The only thing I've published are documents from the police investigation, and I have played audio from an interview conducted with the parents' home after the shooting. Were they leaked? Yes. And believe me, any reporter worth his or her salt, having seen the documents that I have in my possession, having heard the 2-hour and 13-minute long interview, would instantly recognize the news value of them and report the details to the public. That's what good journalists do. Good journalists defend the public's right to know without fear or favor. Will the police conduct a leak investigation? Sure they will. That's what they do. It's not illegal to report on information that is leaked to a reporter. They may think that it's illegal to have released the information, but, their investigation will be ongoing. Good luck with that. But I have a feeling that the show cause hearing on Monday will be a very quick affair because the judge only has issued certain rulings with regard to the diaries and said that they should not be published. They haven't been published. And what is a news organization supposed to do if something is handed to them that has real news value and is of import to the community in which they serve? You report it. That's what you do. At least that's what good reporters do. As I go through all of this reporting that I have done on this, I'll just speak for myself here now. I do think that there are the elements of a very big story that is breaking or potentially could be breaking as a result of the information that I've uncovered and some of the information that's been uncovered by the Tennessee Star. You see, she had a lot of different therapists, the shooter did, over a course of some 22 years. She was at Vandy Psych Ward. She dealt with the folks over there. She had an eating disorder, and she had a doctor for that. She had all kinds of issues. And according to the documents that I have, police detectives were told by some of the doctors or the physicians or the therapists who cared for her over the years that she had confessed to them that she had a desire to carry out a shooting, a school shooting, that she had fantasized about it. Well, right then and there, alarm bells should have been triggered. If you're a therapist or if you're a doctor and a physician and somebody comes in and said, I've been thinking about killing myself or harming others, you have a duty to report that. So the first question is, did they report that? I mean, in some of the follow-up and investigative interviews that police have done, I can tell you they were told by at least one therapist that she had these feelings, these desires to carry out such a shooting. But did they report it in real time? And who did they report it to? And if they did report it to police, what happened with it? Did police follow through with it? Was the ball dropped? We don't know. These are legitimate questions to explore that come up when you look at these documents. So, you know, what I'm sensing from some of these other people who are talking about this is sort of a bit of jealousy that they didn't get it. And how can this possibly be? I mean, there are questions like the documents, if authentic, folks, take my word for it. 1,000% authentic. This is the real deal. And if you saw them, you would instantly agree with me. And I must say, I'm beginning to have sort of a sense here that there might be something else, another motive on the part of some of those who are trying to block the release of the diaries with this lawsuit. You know, you got the school, you got the parents, you got the church. They're all involved in it. Then you got a bunch of people on the other side that want the stuff released, including some of the other news organizations in this town. A lot of people have got lawyers involved in this case, and it seems to me that those who are blocking or trying to block the release of this information might have sort of an interesting motive. I don't know if all of them do, but maybe some of them do. And here it is, okay? If those who knew about the shooter's fantasies did not report or follow the law, or if the police did not follow through, and we don't know, then the survivors of the people who died that day, there were 6 people who died that day, 3 9-year-olds and 3 adults, well, they might well have a good lawsuit. But by keeping the secrets of the diaries tied up in court for more than a year, it has pushed any potential lawsuit beyond the statute of limitations for civil cases in the state of Tennessee. The statute of limitations for a civil case in the state of Tennessee is 1 year. 1 year. So think about that for a while. Is that why these lawsuits have been filed? To keep the other lawsuits from being brought against people who might have some culpability? It's just a question. I can't say that's true, but it certainly does occur to me. 52 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock. Let me tell you about the folks over at Grace Point Healthcare, affordable, comprehensive, convenient medicine. That's what it's all about. It is the standard for affordable, comprehensive, and convenient medicine. How does that work? Well, as a direct pay provider, your healthcare is delivered without the red tape of an insurer's guidelines. Do you really want insurance companies getting in the middle of all of that kind of stuff? Shouldn't this be between you and your doctor? Smart Care plans make it even more affordable. Starting at $69 a month, you get free office visits and basic labs for the entire year. I said free. Grace Point identifies and treats the root causes of the condition, not just the symptoms, utilizing a comprehensive functional approach. And by usually seeing you the same day or the next day, you're treated at your convenience. That's right. Grace Point Healthcare, affordable, comprehensive, and convenient medicine delivered the old-fashioned way. Located on Main Street in Franklin, here's the number, 615-599-6868. That's 599-6868 to set up an appointment.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Good evening. It's 6 p.m. and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Still plenty of sunshine, 78 degrees on Music Row, the latest traffic report, and a weather forecast in 5 minutes. The jury on Hunter Biden's trial reached a verdict this morning, guilty on all 3 counts. The president's son was found guilty for lying on a form to obtain a firearm and illegal possession of that firearm. ABC News White House correspondent Karen Travers, she's got the latest from President Biden, who is in Delaware tonight to be with Hunter and family.
President Biden is traveling to Wilmington, Delaware Tuesday, a change in his schedule after his son Hunter was found guilty on 3 felony counts. The First Lady's in Wilmington and made an appearance at the courthouse after the verdict was read. She had spent several days in the courtroom during the trial, even traveling back from France to Delaware for 1 day to be there with Hunter before returning to France to join the president on his trip. The president said in a statement Tuesday he'll accept the outcome of Hunter's case and, quote, will continue to respect the judicial process as his son considers an appeal.
On Capitol Hill, former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo testifying behind closed doors to a congressional subcommittee. He's being investigated for his administration's handling of the coronavirus pandemic in New York. ABC's Jay O'Brien reports.
The GOP-led panel subpoenaed Cuomo, a Democrat, in March for this deposition. Republican lawmakers are specifically focused on his administration's handling of COVID patients in nursing homes and instructions given to facilities in the early days of the pandemic. Cuomo has said he's proud of his response and that this probe is political. Arriving on Capitol Hill, he told reporters this was an opportunity to
actually get the truth and the facts out, and I welcome that opportunity.
Also on Capitol Hill, they want the tapes. House Republicans moving forward with their push to hold Attorney General Merrick Garland in contempt of Congress, while the quote-unquote transcripts of President Biden's interview with the special counsel investigating alleged mishandling of classified documents have already been made public. Republican lawmakers have been eager to get their hands on the actual audio recordings of those conversations. Today, during a markup hearing for the contempt resolution against the Attorney General, that happened in the House Rules Committee. Chairman of that committee, Congressman James Comer, he expressed concerns that those transcripts may not be all that accurate.
It is insufficient to simply take the Justice Department at its word that the transcripts have not been altered.
That's the latest news. I've got traffic and weather for you. They're coming up next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
It is 7 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock. It's hour number 4 of The Drive. Good evening on this 11th day of June, man. Let's tell you what. Again, just spectacular weather, 79 degrees, very pleasant evening, low humidity, nice long pre-summer evening. Take full advantage of it. I think as we go later in the week, it's going to get even warmer. I think we may be in the 90s here before long.
Yeah, I'm seeing the unfortunate numbers of 91 on Friday, 89 on Thursday.
Let me see what my latest thing it says here. I have all these weather apps, and they all say slightly different things.
Yeah.
Okay, so today 79. It actually hit 80. I think 81 maybe. Wednesday 82, Thursday 88, Friday 90, Saturday 88, Sunday 94. That's getting up there. But I'll tell you, I don't really see any rain in the long-range forecast all the way through next Thursday.
Honestly, I'm not mad about it.
I've sort of had enough of the rain. Haven't we all? Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Like, I understand it keeping it a little cool for us, but man, I just want to mow my yard once without it having to overgrow itself.
I know, man. Right? I'm telling you, getting through this grass is growing like crazy.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, and I went out and fertilized it, so it's partly my fault. Yeah. All right, time for an election update. 2024 update. We got some stuff to plow through here. A lot of information today that makes me sort of feel like there's something going on. There's some kind of how do I want to put it? There's some kind of trend that's developing. And I think it's good for us and bad for them. I'll just be honest with you about it. Let me run through some of these things that I'm talking about here. First, if you were with us, so we talked about this before, but I think it truly is remarkable at how many Hispanic voters are now moving toward Trump. Now, you would think that with immigration, a lot of people would say, well, that's what the Democrats were doing all of this for. They wanted to get Hispanic voters to vote for them, that by having an open border, Hispanic voters would be very pleased with the Biden administration. Not so much. I mean, people who are in this country legally as Hispanics don't particularly like what's happening on the border. And it turns out that Hispanic voters, like most voters, are not single-issue voters. That's not the thing that really is important to them. What's important to them is what's important to most everybody else. The economy. It's the economy, stupid. And they remember that they had it pretty good under Trump, and not so good right now. Their cost of food and everything has gone up about 20% since Biden took office. On average, but somewhere between 20 and 25, even 30% in some cases, things have gone up. And your salary has not gone up that much. So they remember the good times. They remember when, employment was high. And they remember when your dollar had some value, and they were beginning to move into areas, many of them into areas that they'd never been in before. They were getting into becoming prosperous. And now it's a struggle again. They recall that. They're going backwards. Harry Enton is the guy who crunches numbers over at CNN, and he says there is a definite trend of Hispanic voters away from Biden toward Trump.
At this point in 2020, Joe Biden had a very clear advantage, right? 59%, 32%. That's a 27-point lead. Look at this tremendous shift. Oh, my goodness gracious. Now to 2024, Biden's dropped by 8 points, 51%. Trump is up 12 points to 44%. And you have what was a 27-point margin has been shrunk to 7. That margin has been shrunk by 20 points now versus this point 4 years ago. So it's no wonder that Donald Trump thinks he can play for the Hispanic vote. And it's no wonder that Joe Biden thinks he has to defend against Trump's advantage. Where are these campaigns going to be focusing if they're focusing on Hispanic voters? Well, it's pretty clear from this screen, John, that they're going to be focusing on the Southwest, right? Nevada, 19%. That's the percentage that Hispanics make up of likely voters. How about Arizona? They make up 17%.
So Arizona, Nevada, those are battleground states. And it may explain why, Trump is doing so well there. He's up, by about 5 points in Arizona and Nevada. That's huge. And when you have the Hispanic vote, about 20% of the Hispanic vote moves away from one candidate and goes toward another, that has an impact in a close election. Black voters, same story is true. Now, it is true that I'll say it's absolutely true that Joe Biden has more black voters who are going to vote for him than Donald Trump does. But I mean, he's siphoning off a great number of black voters who say, I just can't vote for the guy. I think a lot of black voters are very unenthusiastic voters. I really do. So there's that. Young people, same thing. A lot of young people. Is Biden going to have a lot of young people vote for him? Yes. Are more young people going to vote for than the Republican candidate than they've ever voted in recent elections? Yeah, it looks that way, if the polls are correct. I have been saying for some time now, let's make Virginia a battleground state. It is a battleground state. It was in the blue column, but now a lot of people who really crunch the numbers and watch this stuff very closely are beginning to say Virginia is a battleground state. It could go either way. And the polling data shows that a state that Biden won by more than 10 points in 2020 is in a absolute tie right now. I mean, Biden and Trump and Virginia are tied. The Commonwealth of Virginia, too close. It's TC, too close to call. And so, yeah, I mean, that's interesting. According to the governor there, Glenn Youngkin, he says he did well. He's a Republican, right? He said, people in Virginia, they want an America that has economic strength, not the Biden-generated economy that unleashed inflation. They want America that has national security strength, not the indecisive, weak America that Joe Biden has created. They want an America that has a secure border, not one that has terrorists and illegal immigrants and fentanyl flowing across it every day. He said in Virginia, we have 5 Virginians dying on average every day from a fentanyl overdose. We've had 2 illegal immigrants try to crash the gates at Quantico in a box truck recently. And that what they want is an America that has energy independence. You know, I mean, he just goes on and on. There's a lot of things there that really, really do sound good. So there you have it. The last Republican presidential candidate to win Virginia was former President George W. Bush in 2004. Trump previously lost the state to former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton by over 212,000 votes in 2016, and again to Biden by about 450,000 votes in 2020. So to have it tied up, that's remarkable. Okay, wait, there's more. What about Minnesota? Minnesota, don't you know, as they say there. Have you ever been to Minnesota? It's a nice place. People are very friendly. They have a term for it. They call it Minnesota nice. And I said to a guy, I was in Minnesota. I was at the State Fair of Minnesota. I said, explain to me what this term Minnesota nice means. He says, well, Minnesota nice means that when you talk to people, they'll say nice things about you, and as soon as you leave, then they talk bad about you. I don't know if that's true or not. I found the people there to be very nice, very friendly. But it's been a blue state for a long time. Donald Trump has narrowly edged in Minnesota 8 years ago was narrowly edged out in Minnesota 8 years ago by Hillary Clinton. Joe Biden carried the state by 7 points in 2020. But now it's within the margin of error. Biden 45, Trump 41, according to the Star Tribune poll of Minnesotans. Robert Kennedy getting about 6%. Trump says he's going to win the state of Minnesota. Now, it would be remarkable, but that it's close. You know what that means? It means that in a battleground state that's close, Biden's got to spend some money and some time there, which, he can't be everywhere at once, especially as weak as he is. He can't travel like, Trump can. Trump blows and goes, man. Biden's not going to be doing a lot of that. Be doing a lot of stuff by satellite, I think. So, that he's within striking distance in Minnesota is absolutely remarkable. Pollster Nate Silver, he does this thing called 538.com, and he's a big number cruncher. Pollster Nate Silver has raised serious questions about President Biden's reelection bid, citing his cellar dwelling approval rating. They now have Mr. Biden at a historically low 37% approval. Biden just hit an all-time low in approval, 37.4%, the data analyst said. Dropping out would be a big risk, but There's some threshold below which continuing to run is the bigger risk. Are we there yet? I don't know, but it's more than fair to ask about it. I think he's right. The pollster previously expressed doubts about the 81-year-old president's ability to defeat Donald Trump in the 2024 election. He sparked debate among Democrats by suggesting the other party members might better be suited to challenge the 77-year-old former president. Last month, he reiterated that Biden should consider stepping down. See, that's the only way it can work now. He's already got delegates pledged to him. He's got enough delegates to secure the nomination. So he can say, I could stick this out, but if he's convinced that it's time for him to step down, and the only person I think that could convince him would be maybe Barack Obama. Pull him aside and say, I'm sorry, it's not going to happen for you, Joe. You need to get out of the way. It would have to come from him. He'd have to say something like, I'm missing a step. I'm a little slower. I think I could have won, but at the end of the day, I think the job needs somebody with a bit more vitality or something. Whatever you come up with. But that 37.4%, that's bad. And it keeps, these things keep incrementally, slowly but surely, just going lower and lower. And, Biden's numbers are sinking. Trump's are, slowly rising. I don't know. But it seems to me that we are getting to a point where if you're a Democrat, you've got to be in panic mode. Team Biden bets an unfiltered Trump at the debate can shake up the race from NBC News. GOP pollster Frank Luntz said the June 27th debate, that's right, it's only a few days away, will be the most important debate since the JFK-Richard Nixon debate. In many ways, the June 27th debate can't come quickly enough for President Joe Biden's campaign in a race in which Donald Trump's criminal trial blotted out the sun for several weeks, but by the way, didn't hurt him, not a bit, in which Biden struggled in the most battleground polls for months, in which Democrats insisted potential voters have forgotten what Trump's White House years really looked like. Team Biden sees the chance for him to go up against his nemesis as a probable catalyzing moment. See, I think that's why they scheduled one debate early and one debate late. I think they decided, we'll give him one, and if he can't shake things loose, if he can't make some real progress and start to get numbers going back in his direction with that debate on the 27th, now we'll have time to do something before we get to the second debate and before we get to the convention. But I'm telling you, they're putting it all on that debate, and nothing that has happened. I think numbers are pretty locked in. I don't think they're going to change very much. I think people have decided, short of some huge thing that we don't foresee, something that we can't imagine, I think the numbers are pretty much where they're going to be all the way up to Election Day. It's going to be close. 21 past the hour now of 6 o'clock.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
In the wake of President Biden's son Hunter being found guilty in his federal gun trial, the president addressed a gun control group today. We'll have some of what he said, and we'll also have today's closing money news. Those stories at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 25 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock. You know what? Big deal was made by the president of the United States. We're going to start shutting down the border. I'm going to do it by executive order. I couldn't get the Republicans to work with me. Tried to blame it on Republicans, which is the silliest thing. Nobody buys that at all. But he said he's going to be doing things. He had all these actions that were going to be taken. They were going to really start to shut down people coming across the border. Here's a news bulletin. We should probably have the official news bulletin sounder. You ready? It isn't working. I mean, it's not working. Evidence is mounting, according to the Daily Caller, that Biden's executive order is not stopping illegal immigrants from flooding across the border. President Joe Biden's executive order to control the southern border does not appear to have affected the flow of illegal immigration into the country so far, according to sector reports, internal data, and local officials. It's just not having any impact. There were nearly 4,000 migrants apprehended on Wednesday. The first full day of Biden's order went into effect, according to data obtained by News Nation. Similar numbers reported the following days that week, which encountered spiking to 10,000 on Saturday. News Nation reported Biden's executive order is a facade, offering the illusion of security while doing nothing to address the real issues at our border, said Jim Desmond, a San Diego County supervisor, on Monday. This past weekend alone, thousands of individuals entered San Diego County, exacerbating the alarming number of over 151,000 street releases this fiscal year. Can you imagine you being a town, even a town the size of San Diego? You keep it classy, San Diego. And you've got 151,000 people who have been released into your community. Here's San Diego, go. It's that way. It's simply not. It's just not working, and I don't know that they're going to get it to work. I don't think that they really want it to work. Here's this from hotair.com. DHS internal memo orders San Diego Border Patrol to release single adults. The executive action signed by President Biden on border security on the way out of the country last week, widely slammed as too little too late. Proof of the sham action has been exposed by an internal memo at DHS. And basically what they said last Tuesday, Biden made a big show of signing an executive order. He declared that he was moving past Republican obstruction and using executive authorities available to me as president to do what I can do on my own to address the border. The problem is that American voters remember, that this guy doesn't ever tell the truth. And there is a memo that is out there. Fox News obtained an internal Border Patrol memo and instructs agents in the San Diego sector to release single adults from the Eastern Hemisphere. This order applied to all illegals except those from 6 countries. They would be classified as hard or very hard to remove. There are more than 100 countries in the Eastern Hemisphere, meaning that despite the Homeland Security Department and President Biden's threats of consequences and promises to remove migrants who cross illegally, the overwhelming majority of the migrants in the San Diego sector are still being released into the United States. From the Daily Caller, feds arrest Russian nationals with suspected ISIS ties in a major sting operation. What's this about? Federal law enforcement authorities apprehended a group of Russian nationals with suspected terrorist ties in a nationwide operation spanning several major U.S. cities. 6 Russian nationals believed to have ties to ISIS were arrested over the last week in a coordinated sting operation that spanned New York, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, the New York Post first reported. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents arrested the Russians, who originally hail from Tajikistan, after they were alerted by the FBI. A source familiar with the operation confirmed the reporting to the Daily Caller News Foundation. Over the last few days, ICE agents arrested several non-citizens pursuant to immigration authorities. Read a joint statement. The actions were carried out in close coordination with the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force. Individual arrested, detained in ICE custody pending removal proceedings. The FBI and the DHS have recently described in public and partner bulletins the U.S. has been in a heightened threat environment. The FBI and DHS will continue working around the clock with our partners to identify, investigate, and disrupt potential threats to national security. A wiretap of one of the now apprehended Russians revealed he had discussed bombs, according to the New York Post. That individual was previously released by federal immigration authorities at the southern border and given a future court date before it was revealed he had potential ISIS ties. This is, again, we don't know who these people are. Have no idea who they are coming across the border. And there's about 2 million of them that never had any contact with law enforcement at all. 31 past the hour.
Good evening. It's 6:31. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've still got plenty of sun. We're at 77 degrees still. Full forecast and traffic on the way. President Biden highlighting his work that the administration has done to curb gun violence in a speech today in Washington. He made no mention of his son Hunter being found guilty in his federal gun trial. The president spoke to advocates from a group called Everytown. They've been lobbying for stricter gun laws for years. The president criticized some Republicans for calling for eradication of a law enforcement agency which investigates gun crimes.
They want to abolish the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives, which is responsible for fighting gun crimes. You can't be pro-law enforcement and say you are pro-law enforcement and be pro-abolishing the AFT.
In his speech, the president also calling for tougher background check laws, an assault weapons ban, and regulations on gun storage. We now turn to Daria Albinger. She's got today's closing money news.
From ABC News Wall Street now, stocks wavered ahead of an announcement from the Fed. The Dow fell 121 points while the S&P rose 15. The Nasdaq added 151. The Federal Reserve's Open Markets Committee, the people who decide what's happening with interest rates, are meeting. The central bank is expected to announce when it adjourns on Wednesday that it will leave them unchanged, waiting for inflation to get closer to that 2% target before it announces a cut. If you filled up lately, you have probably noticed gas prices are falling. The AAA says its national average is $3.44 a gallon. That's down about 8 cents from a week ago, more than 19 cents from a month back, and over 14 cents down from this time last year. Now, industry analysts point toward mild demand, increasing supply, and at least for the time being, relatively low oil prices. Then again, they say all of that could change on a moment's notice.
That is the latest news. We've got another traffic report and weather coming up. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, how about upgrading that diamond ring this summer? with no money down and 0% interest over 5 years. Don't miss this killer offer from Genesis Diamonds. 5 years, 0% interest financing. Not just on engagement rings, but also on earrings, bracelets, bands, colored gemstone jewelry, pre-owned Rolex watches. Buy now, pay nothing down, and spread your payments over 5 years with 0% interest. So that's $5,000 gift comes out to just $85 a month. And that luxury pre-owned Rolex Submariner, Datejust, or Explorer starts at only $150 a month. An insane offer from the jeweler that's always finding ways to bring you more value. All GIA certified diamonds are included. Round cuts, princess cuts, ovals, pear shapes, cushion cuts, emerald cuts. Whether you get a $5,000 diamond or a $50,000 diamond, you can spread your payments out over 5 whole years. Lab-grown diamonds also included. You get the Genesis value price on anything, and you can spread your payments over 5 years with approved credit. This offer is a limited time offer that ends on June 30th and will not be extended. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs. Details and more at genesisdiamonds.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Hey, good evening, everybody. It's 39 minutes now past the hour. You're listening to The Drive for a few more minutes. I'll be with you all the way till 7 o'clock, and then I hand it over, I willingly and gladly, to Mark Levin, and he carries on through the evening. Nancy Pelosi, she is a piece of work, I'm telling you. This tape is remarkable. You remember on January 6th, there was a big question. Why didn't they have the National Guard at the Capitol? I mean, you know, I was there. I was on the grounds of the Capitol that day. And there really was no barricade, no security there. I mean, they put up some, bicycle racks. And you know, that didn't stop anybody. And people went right through that like, a hot knife through butter. That didn't even slow them down. People were on the grounds, all over the grounds. And And there was no attempt to try to keep people at any distance back from the Capitol. And, as I say, I always like to add to that when I was there were a great number of people who were just there exercising their First Amendment rights. Clearly, they didn't come there to tear the place up. But things, spiraled out of control, and there were riots on the inside, and the whole thing got out of control. But the question always has been, why weren't the National Guard there? Why didn't they have more security around the Capitol? Well, Donald Trump says he offered the National Guard on many occasions. There are other law enforcement officials who said that they thought it would be a good idea to have the National Guard there because they were anticipating that the crowds were going to be there, and they wanted to make sure that they had enough, people there to support it. But the word always came back that the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, didn't like the optics of having the National Guard, people in military uniform, protecting the Capitol. Well, now comes a new piece of tape. Pelosi's daughter is named Alexa, and she is a filmmaker. And on the day in January 6th, 2021, she was actually following her mother around with a camera. The Speaker of the House, 84 years old at the time. And there is a clip that has emerged, released by Republicans, in which Nancy Pelosi absolutely admits in the crisis of the moment that she was responsible for not having the National Guard there on that day, that it was her decision. She said she takes full credit for it. Now, to describe this video, it's a remarkable video. The security team has escorted her to the basement of the Capitol. They have got her in her limo. It's not really a limo. It's like a Suburban, a sedan, one of those big SUV jobs with all kinds of red lights and bulletproof glass, etc. And they're trying to get her out of the Capitol because things have spiraled out of control. And she seems to be, I don't know. I'm going to play the tape, and then let's have a conversation about what you think. Could she be a little tipsy at this point? I mean, I don't know. It sure sounds like it to me. Something's not right with Nancy in this particular clip, as she is being escorted from the Capitol by her security team, and her daughter had the camera rolling the whole time. Listen very carefully. You hear her say, I'll take full responsibility for not having the National Guard there.
I mean, we asked them. They put out a piece of paper saying, go through the tunnel, don't go outside. They say they got stuff, but they can't tell us what it is. It's too prepared. They want the other side to know. We have responsibility, Terry. We did not have any accountability for what was going on there, and we should have.
Terry, by the way, is her chief of staff. And you can tell her that she is saying we had some responsibility for what happened here today.
This is ridiculous. You're going to ask me in the middle of the thing when they've already breached the inaugural stuff?
The inaugural stuff, that was the towers and all the platforms that were there for the inauguration, that they were climbing and had complete control of.
Should we call the Capitol Police? I mean, the National Guard? Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with?
They thought that they had sufficient resources.
No, there's not a question of how they had been. They don't know.
I mean, does it me? Does she sound drunk? I don't know, man. She sounds like something is not right. I mean, I've covered this woman as Speaker of the House. I can't say that I know her well, but I've been around her quite a bit. And she's slurring her words, and she seems to be sort of discombobulated by all that. And I imagine it was pretty scary being rushed out of the Capitol and thrown in the back of a sedan, driven out of the Capitol. You have to do you're basically abandoning ship here. So I can understand why that would be something that would bother her. But I mean, she's asking the questions. Why weren't the Capitol Police, weren't the National Guard there? And say, well, they thought they had it under control. She didn't think so.
They thought that they had sufficient resources.
No, there's not a question of how they had been. They don't know. They clearly didn't know, and I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for more.
There you go. I take responsibility.
Because it's stupid that we should be in a situation like this. Because they thought they had what? They thought these people would act civilized? They thought these people gave a damn? What is it that is missing here in terms of anticipation? If they give us a piece of paper, it says, walk through the tunnel, don't walk outside. That's our preparation for what's going on. Jeez.
She kept talking. She kept talking about the thing about walking through the tunnels. What she's talking about there is the 3rd Street Tunnel, which goes underground near the Capitol. And they had asked. Apparently, they thought the Capitol Police had asked people to take the tunnel. Take the tunnel. Don't come up. Up Pennsylvania Avenue. They didn't listen. But one way or the other, there you have it. Nancy Pelosi, even in apparently some state of I don't know what, but she takes responsibility. This released by the folks from the GOP who've been looking at some of the tape. A lot of the stuff that the January 6th stuff was all the Democrats when they conducted that sham investigation of January 6th, that one-sided investigation. When they got booted out of office and out of the majority, they locked a bunch of stuff up in a hard drive, and then didn't give anybody the passcode. It took forever for them to get this stuff unlocked, and to figure out what kind of stuff was in it that hadn't been shared with the American people. I can understand why you wouldn't share this piece of tape, because it raises real questions about the state of mind of the Speaker of the House on that particular day, January 6th. Here's another version of it. Newly released January 6th footage by House Republicans revealed then House Speaker Nancy Pelosi expressing responsibility for failing to prevent the event. In the footage, Pelosi is heard telling her Chief of Staff, Terry McCullough, "I have responsibility, Terry. We have responsibility. We did not have any accountability for what was going on there, and we should have. This is ridiculous. You're going to ask me in the middle of the thing when they've already breached the inaugural stuff that we should call the Capitol Police, the National Guard? Why weren't they there to begin with?" And then she says, they clearly didn't know, and I take responsibility for not having them prepare for more. Boom. Donald Trump has famously claimed that on January 6th, Nancy Pelosi was in charge of security. She turned down 10,000 soldiers. If she didn't turn down the soldiers, you wouldn't have had January 6th. He's right. He's absolutely right. So that's gonna leave a mark, isn't it? You talk about inflation, and you talk about how difficult it is for people, and when the things have gone up 20, 25, 30% since 2020, and your salary certainly hasn't gone up that much, has it? Listen to this story from Fox Business. The cost of owning a home in the U.S. has skyrocketed since 2020, putting a key tenet of the American dream out of reach for millions. New findings published by Bankrate show the average annual cost for owning and maintaining a typical single-family home, not including the mortgage payments, is $18,118. That marks a stunning 26% increase from just 4 years ago, when the same expenses totaled about $14,420 annually. We're talking about the things, that you need, like paying your property taxes, homeowners insurance, home maintenance costs, the cost of energy, the cost of internet, the cable bills. Everything has gotten more expensive in the past 4 years, the report says. Up dramatically. Chronic inflation has pushed up the cost of many homeowner expenses, particularly insurance premiums, which are up nearly 40% since 2019. Insurance costs are another factor squeezing homeowners. Annual premiums have been soaring, driven by rising home values, increasing construction costs, and natural disasters. Finally, with the minute that I have left, a British Airways flight on its way to Texas recently crossed the Atlantic Ocean and immediately turned around and went right back. British Airways Flight 195 departed from Heathrow on Monday, en route to George Bush Intercontinental Airport in Houston. According to online flight tracker Radar 24, the Boeing 787 Dreamliner was in the air for 5 hours before its diversion. The airplane, which carried some 300 people, just barely grazed North America, flew along the coast of Newfoundland before heading back over to London. They traveled 4,833 miles and returned exactly where they started for. A minor technical issue, we're told. Boy, I would have been mad. 50 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock. Restoration Wellness and Med Spa. Good people over there. Let the team at Restoration Wellness help you achieve your summer goals, especially if it has to do with weight loss. Restoration Wellness is a leader in weight loss management in Wilson County. And, you know, summer's nearly here. You want to look good as you get into your shorts and you go to the beach, you're at the pool. You want to look good. You want to look good, don't you? Well, call the Restoration Wellness team today, 615-470-8124. Visit them at their website, restorationwellnessmedspa.com, to book a consultation today. Now, my friends over there, Carly and Jamie, will take great care of you. They'll treat you like you're part of the family. Be part of the 1,000 patients who have already seen life-changing results from the weight loss management program at Restoration Wellness and Med Spa. Weight loss can increase your energy levels, improve your quality of sleep, enhance your overall health. Customized treatment plans, not one size fits all. And I can tell you, it's worked for me. It's working for Cabana Wife in a big way. She looks phenomenal. Restoration Wellness considers your unique needs, your lifestyle, and your goals. So if your goal is to lose stubborn body fat, or even if it's just to improve your overall health, Restoration Wellness has a solution that will work for you. Learn about the newest technology in weight loss management. Just go to their website, restorationwellnessmedspa.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.